Li Mei's Sword of Destiny. Chapter 4452. The body of chaos and the ghoul jellyfish's talents actually improved. Lin Ling inadvertently checked and was shocked. However, he couldn't care less and started to calculate crazily. The 5th step was successfully taken. The 6th step. A total of 5 billion barriers appeared. Speed up. Lin Ling frantically unlocked the barriers. Many of them were the first time he encountered them, but when death approached, he could only rely on his own experience to solve them. Time passed quietly. The 6th step, Lin Ling successfully took it. However, the world of chaos behind him was getting closer and closer. The 7th step, Lin Ling took it again. The world of chaos had already appeared behind Lin Ling. When Lin Ling faced the 8th step, the world of chaos completely drowned him. Chaos ghoul jellyfish. Just after being devoured, Lin Ling roared in his heart and activated his talents to crazily devour the negative energy. And his mind was still calculating the barriers. At a certain moment, he used the devouring of the 2 talents to madly rush out of the world of chaos again. In this short moment, Lin Ling discovered that his talents had improved a little. Break. And after rushing out of the world of chaos, Lin Ling also solved the 8th step. And the 8th step was like a large character. After solving it, the next step was a little more open. At least 5 consecutive steps were not difficult for Lin Ling. This also made Lin Ling discover that unknowingly, his spirit formation Tao had also quietly improved. Of course, the body of chaos and the ghoul jellyfish's talents had also reached the 8th grade. There are still gains. Lin Ling was also very surprised. He simply slowed down and continued to devour the world of chaos behind him to improve his 2 talents. At the same time, with the help of the tomb path, he strengthened his spirit formation Tao. With this progress, Lin Ling was like a fish in water. It became easier and easier. Looking ahead, unknowingly, the tomb path had also reached the end. At the end was a dragon lock stone. This huge stone was said to be made of countless dragon corpses, and used to seal the ancient tomb. When the dragon lock stone fell, the ancient tomb and the outside world became 2 different worlds. It's really a well-guarded tomb. Lin Ling sighed in his heart. First, there were endless spirit formations. Then, there was the primal chaos world. At the end, there was the dragon sealing stone. This meant that no matter how powerful one's spirit formation skills were, if one could not break through the dragon sealing stone, then everything would be in vain. Sooner or later, one would be devoured. This meant that if one wanted to pass through this tomb, in addition to having a powerful barrier, one's own strength must also be very strong. The aegis of the Tao of Tombs won't be able to stop me, and the world of primal chaos is far behind me. That said, I have to see how strong this dragonlock stone is. Otherwise, I'll be in big trouble. Lin Ling muttered to himself. His speed of breaking the barrier increased by a notch, and he opened up a distance of 3 meters from the chaotic world behind him. Then he used the 3rd stage of his talent, fusion, and fiercely slashed at the dragon-locking stone. His sword landed on the dragon-locking stone with all his strength. However, the dragon-locking stone did not budge at all. Moreover, a terrifying will was reflected back, causing Lin Ling's mind to go into a daze. This was because what appeared in his mind was the Great War of the Primordial Era. At that time, the heavens and earth had just been created, and all living things had just recovered. The will of the heavens had arrived, and it had a crazy battle with the primordial gods. The will of the heavens was also the will of the world, and it was the first time it had appeared in the universe. That battle had caused the heavens to fall and the earth to split. It was the primordial era where there were countless gods and countless gods had fallen. Fortunately, this will of the heavens had just been born not long ago, so in a head-on clash, it had finally lost to the gods of the primordial era. Of course, the gods of the primordial era had also suffered countless casualties. Many gods had fallen, and in the end, they were buried here and in other places. As expected, the ancient tombs under the sacred mountain all came from the primordial era. Lin Ling was shocked. He turned back and saw that the chaotic world was less than 2 meters away in a short period of time. It's impossible to open the dragon-locking stone with my own strength. I can only try Pengu's attack. Lin Ling knew very well that although he looked calm now, if he could not break the dragon-locking stone, he would not be able to escape the fate of dying in the chaotic world. and the only hope of opening the dragon-locking stone was Pangu's attack. Break for me. Now Lin Ling's chaotic body and wraith jellyfish's level had greatly increased, and the heaven-splitting slash that they used was also extraordinary. He looked at the dragon-locking stone and slashed it down. Rumble. But this time there was an effect. The heaven-splitting slash was indeed Pangu's ultimate technique. Lin Ling's slash had actually split open a huge crack in the dragon-locking stone. Inside, there were gusts of cold wind, as if it had been opened. Great. Lin Ling was overjoyed. This way, he would not have to die in the tomb. Could it be that I've encountered this chaotic world? Then I can also raise my chaotic body and wraith jellyfish's talent. Lin Ling did not immediately enter. Instead he retreated, approached the chaotic world and was drowned by it. The black tide flooded over, and Lin Ling sensed that the chaotic body and wraith jellyfish were frantically devouring, and their levels were constantly increasing. It's about time. When he sensed that the chaotic body was in a perfect state, Lin Ling unleashed his full strength and immediately retreated. After appearing in the outside world, he quickly refined the negative energy, and then charged into the chaotic world again. This repeated over and over again. The distance that seemed to be less than 2 meters, Lin Ling had entered and exited a total of 3 times. His chaotic body and wraith jellyfish were also madly increasing, and in the end, they both reached the level of mid-gods. The progress is so crazy. Lin Ling was shocked. Then he could not care less. His body turned into a pool of black liquid and shot into the dragon-locking stone. The dragon-locking stone was thick and spacious. After flying for an incense stick's time, endless cold wind blew against his face. In the unseen world, there seemed to be endless voices of gods. There were angry voices, murmurs, and even unresigned cries. Lin Ling frowned slightly. Seeing that it was just voices and not a huge impact, he simply sat down cross-legged. Chaotic body. Lin Ling first comprehended the world-devouring beast, and discovered that it had completely reached the level of the chaotic body of the 4 great ferocious beasts. It had the power to devour everything. Moreover, it had increased his physical strength by a total of 700,000 worlds. Condense. Lin Ling also tried to use his talent. Immediately, his body turned pitch black, and even his pupils were pitch black, as if he was a shadow. Moreover, this pitch black could also be continuously enlarged, turning into a black cloud that could devour everything. Most importantly, Lin Ling also had a true immortal body. He estimated that even the powerful divine power would not be able to destroy him. Chapter 4453. Now, even Lin Ling himself did not know how much divine power his immortal body could defend against, but he reckoned that it would not be weak. Looking at the evil spirit hell physique, he had reached the level of a mid-god. However, this talent was known for its ghost Dao, so its attack was not the King Dao. It only increased its strange methods in defense. Especially in the face of soul attacks, its resistance was greatly increased. Moreover, it had the power of splitting. Splitting the body, it could become an evil spirit jellyfish that could devour everything. It could even allow the evil spirit jellyfish to fly across 10,000 worlds and enter various forbidden areas. The evil spirit hell physique also increased Lin Ling's divine power by 300,000 realms, which added up to 1 million realms. In addition to the original 1 million realms, it was 2 million realms. If the third stage talent was fused, it could reach 4 million realms. His strength had increased by more than 30%. The only thing that did not increase was his divine power. Even his divine origin had a small increase. I didn't expect there to be such a pleasant surprise. Lin Ling secretly felt lucky. Now, even if he did not find the clue of the sword demon, this trip was not in vain. I don't know where this place is, but it looks very dangerous. Evil spirit jellyfish, split! Lin Ling shouted. A large number of black jellyfish swam out of his chest and flew forward in a grandiose manner. They wanted to investigate everything in front of them. Then Lin Ling realized that this was the real morning hall. Countless memorial tablets were arranged in the space, and there were treasures under each memorial tablet. There were divine swords, divine armors, ancient cauldrons, war flags, and so on. They were all left behind by the dead gods. Lin Ling licked his lips and controlled the evil spirit jellyfish to carefully approach, trying to seize one of the treasures. Rumble. However, before he could get close, an unprecedented divine pressure suppressed him. Bang! The evil spirit jellyfish immediately exploded. What's going on? Lin Ling frowned and controlled the evil spirit jellyfish to swim forward again. However, the result was still the same. It seemed that the treasures under the memorial tablets were impossible to obtain. After that, Lin Ling moved forward because he also realized that as long as he did not get close to the memorial tablet, there would not be any danger. Meanwhile, as Lin Ling walked through the silent space, he was surrounded by spirit tablets that were filled with divine might. Even with Lin Ling's strength, he could still feel a tremendous amount of pressure. It was as if countless gods were looking at him. Furthermore, those gods were the origami from the Great Desolation era. If not for the fact that Lin Ling's strength had increased by a bit, he would have been suppressed by the divine pressure to the point that it would be difficult for him to move forward. According to Sage Gi's map, the sword demon's head is here. This means that there are gods from the primordial era and gods from the era of the gods here. Lin Ling moved forward and searched ceaselessly. Finally, his eyes lit up because he noticed that the scabbard behind him had started to jump, and this sort of jump was unprecedentedly excited as if it had seen something. Found it! Lin Ling instantly guessed. Following the direction of the scabbard, he finally stopped in front of a pitch-black memorial tablet. Upon closer inspection, the word "Nameless" was written on the memorial tablet. Below the memorial tablet was an object wrapped in a red cloth. From the looks of it, it seemed to be the head. At this moment, Lin Ling was inexplicably excited. That was because he had obtained the scabbard many years ago. Moreover, because of the killing intent of the scabbard, Lin Ling had been forced to constantly search for the broken sword. Now he had finally found the head. Immediately, Lin Ling waved his right hand and wrapped the red cloth with his divine essence, slowly lifting the head. Perhaps because the head sensed the existence of the scabbard, there was no powerful divine pressure to suppress it. Moreover, in midair, the red cloth slowly unraveled on its own, and an old man's head slowly appeared. The old man's hair was messy, and his expression was unruly. He was very domineering, and Lin Ling was stunned. However, in the next moment, the head's eyes suddenly opened, and a terrifying murderous aura surged out. Not good. Lin Ling was enveloped by the murderous aura and suddenly found himself in a vast white space. There was nothing around him. Could it be that the sword demon is not dead yet? He has taken over my body. A terrifying thought arose in Lin Ling's mind. The scabbard was constantly searching for the broken sword and even the head. Its purpose was not to restore the sword's power, but to revive the sword demon. Damn it! He had been deceived for so many years. Lin Ling then frantically attacked his surroundings. However, the vast white space was like a world that could not be broken. On the contrary, in the endless memorial tablets, Lin Ling, whose body had been occupied, stood there quietly. Bang! The rope that tied his long hair suddenly exploded. His long hair spurted out like a jellyfish baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Lin Ling's entire body was surging with murderous aura. Wisps of murderous aura roared, and his eyes instantly turned red. I have returned. This junior is really powerful. He can actually find everything that I have lost. Moreover, the strength of this body is actually twice as strong as mine in the past. Ha ha ha. The person looked up to the sky and laughed. He stretched out his hand, and a huge sword floated over. After landing in his hand, he ruthlessly slashed out. Rumble! The terrifying sea of blood turned into a huge demon, sweeping out in all directions. The memorial tablets in the surroundings also crashed down, and the void was in chaos. The gods and Buddhas in the sky tried to kill me in the past. Today I, the sword demon, am back. I want this world to not be able to cover my eyes anymore. The person was wanton and arrogant, constantly killing everything. The entire void was slashed open, and endless memorial tablets poured down like an ocean, as if to drown the sword demon. However, when the sword demon slashed out with his sword, all the memorial tablets were sent flying. They could not even get close to the sword demon. The sword demon now was stronger than he was in the past. Pitiful Junior, you've been trapped in my soul. After a while you'll definitely die. Ha ha ha. The sword demon constantly leaped in the void, killing everything in his way. The will of the world is the final destination of the great Tao. He roared as he killed, his murderous aura billowing. What was shocking was that he actually came from the will of the world in the past. At this moment in the vast white space, Lin Ling also went crazy. Damn it! How dare you seize my body? What bullshit sword demon! Lin Ling never thought that he would fail miserably. Moreover, in this sacred mountain, he had failed miserably twice. Because he really did not expect that the sword demon who was beheaded was still alive. Something is not right. No matter what kind of power I use here, I can't break this place. Even if my body is seized and my power is occupied by the sword demon, I still have a part of my power under my control. No, this is the world of souls, the sword demon's soul. Other people's souls are in the state of an ocean. I didn't expect the sword demon's soul to be so strong. It is in the state of a world. Chapter 44:54. Rumble. The terrifying soul power was like a sea urchin, wreaking havoc in all directions. The originally white space began to crack. How is this possible? Junior, you. At this time, the sword demon's shocked voice sounded. He obviously did not expect this nameless junior soul to be so powerful. It was actually stronger than his. One had to know that he was an ancient figure from the era of gods and a giant in the divinity realm. Die! Lin Ling activated the Step of Wisdom and crazily attacked the entire space, causing cracks to spread continuously. Stop! The previously domineering sword demon panicked. As he had just been resurrected, he did not have any means to seal Lin Ling apart from his soul. Therefore, he used his soul to seal Lin Ling. However, he did not expect that by sealing Lin Ling in his soul, he would place Lin Ling at his weakest point. Stop your ass. Go to hell. Lin Ling's soul power did not weaken. Instead, it became even more ferocious. It was like a surging river, like the void of the universe. Crack! Crack! The cracks in the entire soul space became even more severe. We can talk. Why don't I become your sword? What do you think? Scram. Junior, you know who I am. Back then I killed more than 1 billion gods. How dare you be so rude to me? Die. Enough. At most, after I become your sword, I will be under your control forever. The sword demon kept negotiating with Lin Ling. He was completely terrified. However, Lin Ling had already suffered once. He did not trust the sword demon anymore. You dare to trick me? I want your soul to be destroyed forever. Lin Ling unleashed all his soul power and attacked the soul space. Rumble. The sword demon's soul finally could not take it anymore. It began to shatter and gradually turned into dust. I never thought that I would not die in the hands of the gods, but in the hands of a nameless junior after the era of gods. I am not willing to accept this. The sword demon's angry voice also came from the soul space. He thought that once he was resurrected, he would be able to defeat everything and no one in this world would be able to suppress him. However, a junior he met right after his resurrection killed him just like that. Moreover, in the age of the gods, such a junior would have been in existence akin to a mountain guardian in a sect. Boom! After the soul world shattered, Lin Ling began to take back his physical body. However, he also sensed an endless amount of killing intent rushing into his soul, giving him the idea of killing everything. Kill! He raised his sword and slashed in all directions. Then he rushed out of the crack in the void. His sword danced in the air continuously. The sea of blood was like a demon, like a murderous beast, slashing apart the void in front of him. No one could stop it. Boom! The ancient tomb exploded and a demon-like figure rushed out from the ground. This person held a great sword and a sea of blood roiled around the body of the sword. His hair was disheveled and his eyes were merciless and filled with killing intent. He coldly stared at the earth. Rumble! The earth began to shake as it was affected by the murderous aura. Then this figure's gaze fell on the manor and witnessed the endless array of memorial tablets. At this moment within the array, the Kurishin and the others were still resisting with all their might. This array is indeed terrifying. Our divine power and other means are all suppressed. If this goes on, we will definitely die. Quick, be careful over there. The Kurishin and the Ox Demon Patriarch formed a small team and frantically clashed with the sea of memorial tablets. However, after they blasted away a large number of the sea of memorial tablets, new ones immediately appeared. making it impossible for them to guard against them. Even if they were gods, they would not be able to withstand it in the long run. Sooner or later they would be drowned and eventually killed here. In the void of the 9 prefectures they were the top existences. However, in the face of the true gods of the age of the gods and the age of the primitive desolation, they were indeed too weak. Kiki, don't risk your life to resist. It's useless. At the same time the eerie voice floated out, as long as I refine all of you, I will be able to leave this place for good. Ha ha ha. However, just as these words were spoken, a sword slashed out, causing the entire array of memorial tablets to tremble. A huge crack appeared as all of the memorial tablets were slashed apart. Of course, these spirit tablets quickly recovered. However, the black deity and the others who were in the array saw a terrifying sound coming from the distant horizon. It was accompanied by endless sound waves and was brimming with killing intent. This person was covered in murderous intent. His long hair was messy and his eyes were blazing. Especially the sword in his hand, it made their scalps tingle. It was as if they had seen the god of death from the age of the gods. That looks like Lei Gong. The ox demon patriarch's eyes trembled as he spoke nervously. Really is Lin Ling. He's still alive, and how did he become so terrifying? The titanic crescent god's mouth trembled as he spoke. Who cares what he became? He's still alive and he's rushing over. This means that he's here to save us. As expected, we can only rely on that brat Lin Ling in this battle. The Kurishin, on the other hand, was very excited as he shouted, then laughed. Although the other gods found it hard to believe that they were saved by a junior like Lin Ling, their lives were obviously more important. Therefore, their morale was greatly boosted, and their faces were full of smiles. Lei Gong brat, we're here. Hurry up and help us. Even though the array had recovered, the black dragon couldn't help but laugh as he shouted, whoosh! At this moment outside the array, a bloody light slashed out, revealing its sharpness. The steps of death were incomparably terrifying. The divine steps of the sovereign realm. A figure stood outside the array, looking in front of him in disbelief. In the blink of an eye, the bloody light passed by him, and the hair on his cheeks quietly fell to the ground. This was even after he had used a powerful divine ability to dodge the attack. Otherwise, he would definitely have been seriously injured by the previous sword strike. Who is it? He was the locust tree eccentric from the Age of Desolation. Being able to injure him meant that this person was incomparably terrifying. His eyes were filled with disbelief as he looked into the distance. He saw killing intent surging in the distance like smoke, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. A figure stood there with messy hair and a pair of eyes quietly looking at him. There was a hint of killing intent and indifference in those eyes. Just one glance caused the old man's body to tremble. Of course, he was even more in disbelief. This was because the man with the long hair was actually the junior who had escaped. One had to know that he had investigated thoroughly. Among the gods, the weakest was actually that junior. But now... Chapter 44:55. Rumble. Just as the old man thought that, another sword slashed over, crossing the ancient river and quickly landing on the old man's body. Visualize the 5 skandhas, convenient Tao. The old man's right hand shook, and a locust tree branch appeared. He looked in front of him and viciously swept it out. Whoosh! The terrifying blood sea sword landed on the locust tree branch, causing the mysterious branch to creak as if it was about to break. However, the old man waved his hand, and the blood sea sword bounced back and landed in the spirit tablet array in the distance. The entire array shook, then cracked, and countless spirit tablets tumbled like an ocean. This also caused the Kurishin in the array to look up, and then they were all shocked. They also knew that the locust tree old monster was not much weaker than them. But Lin Ling's sword actually took the old monster's full strength. You've returned from the cemetery. At this moment, the old man gritted his teeth and retreated, roaring angrily. The earth shook and the tombs collapsed, and the sound came from the cemetery. In addition, the kid had also gone in the direction of the tomb, which meant that the kid had returned from the cemetery alive. The old man knew very well what was in the cemetery, and even he could not get close. He never thought that the kid would be able to come out alive. Kill. Lin Ling's eyes were still cold and unfeeling as he slashed out again. Whoosh! The old man also waved the locust tree branch in his hand, and the divine stairs spat out, blocking the sword. It really is the sovereign divine stairs. Could this kid be the reincarnation of an ancient divine object? Although he blocked the sword, the old man was still shocked. He was certain that the gods surrounded in the array did not have sovereign divine stairs. In fact, 2 of them did not even have one. As for sovereign-level god steps, they were extremely rare. One had to know that the divine stairs represented the void Tao, and it was divided into 6 levels: elementary, sense, sovereign, grand elementary, ancient, and grand beginning, eternal. Only the ancient gods of the Age of the Gods and the prehistoric era had a chance to reach the sovereign level. Luckily, his realm is not high, and using the divine steps consumes a lot of divine essence. He won't be able to hold on for long, and from the looks of it, he seems to have lost his mind. This is beneficial to me. The old man thought coldly as he retreated. Then he shouted, "Kid, come and kill me. Let's see if you can kill me." Lin Ling did not say a word. The blood-sea sword in his hand continued to slash out. Rumble! The entire manor seemed to have been shattered. Even though the old man could barely block Lin Ling's sword, it was an arduous and unrewarding task. However, the confidence in his heart continued to support him. That was because there were tens of thousands of divine steps. There were soul, flame, lightning, death, life, and so on. In order to use these divine steps, one had to have the corresponding power and divine embryo as a foundation. For example, the soul attribute was the most profound divine steps. It required an enormous amount of spiritual strength. When it was used, it was the most invincible existence among all the divine stairs. As for the murderous divine steps, it required a powerful physical body and divine essence, in addition to endless murderous aura. Although the murderous divine steps' offensive power was ranked among the top of the divine steps, it was obvious that using it consumed more energy. Swoosh! Swoosh! Lin Ling's sword was unruly and unruly. It was decisive as it continued to slash out. His mind had been submerged by the murderous aura. He only wanted to kill. This feeling was similar to when he was on the island of Ling Nation. If he did not kill to his heart's content, Lin Ling would not withdraw his sword. Moreover, this feeling was even more intense than the last time. This also caused him to forget to use the 3rd stage innate skill fusion. Otherwise, the old pagoda tree spirit would not have been able to block his sword. But even so, every time the old pagoda tree spirit blocked Lin Ling's sword, endless death aura would spread out from his body. This death aura was vast and boundless. If it were placed in the void of the 9 continents, it would drown 10,000 worlds and kill everything. This was because this death aura came from ancient times. It was condensed by absorbing the power of ancient gods. After so many years, it had reached an incomparably terrifying level. This was also the reason why the patriarch of the Ox Demon clan and the others thought that this old man was not weak. It was just that the old man had concealed it at the beginning, so they did not notice it. Rumble! The terrifying murderous aura and the death aura collided violently, forming a huge storm that swept across the world. In the distant land, countless ancient tombs collapsed and the ground caved in. This crazy battle continued for a full 3 incense sticks' time. The pagoda tree in the old man's hand was covered in leaves. Each leaf contained 100,000 years' worth of death aura. Now it was being cut down by Lin Ling. What's going on? The old man felt that something was wrong. It was because Lin Ling did not seem to be tired. He could still slash out continuously, and the more he slashed, the more terrifying it was. How could this kid hold on for so long with the divine energy of a mid-stage lower deity? Moreover, where did his murderous aura come from? It seemed to be endless. Moreover, to kill 1,000 enemies and injure 800 of oneself, one must have a strong physical body to support the execution of the murderous divine steps. These 3 points did not seem to appear on Lin Ling. No, this murderous aura does not belong to him. He obtained it in the tomb. Heavens, he actually obtained the memorial tablet of an ancient god. Suddenly, the old man thought of something and his eyes trembled. This meant that this kid's murderous aura was endless, and it was even more terrifying than he had imagined. You, who are you? Being able to obtain the murderous aura of an ancient god was not something an ordinary person could do. Even he would find it difficult to do so. He had been here for millions of years, and he had long coveted the treasures left behind by the ancient god. However, in the end, he had not obtained any of them. Kill. Lin Ling seemed to only have one sentence. His long hair turned blood red, and it actually grew longer and longer. It danced wildly like a sea urchin, and it was terrifying at first glance. Sword strikes that were even more terrifying than the previous ones were continuously slashing out. Crack! A branch of the pagoda tree in the old man's hand finally broke. Looking into the distance, Yu and the others were still waiting outside. Moreover, they looked anxious. They had also noticed the great disturbance in the manor, but there was a powerful force blocking them, preventing them from entering the manor. Crack! However, at this moment, a huge branch of the ancient pagoda tree outside the manor fell, and then blood flowed out continuously. This also shocked Yu and the others. However, after the ancient pagoda tree trembled for a while, it began to lose branches again. Moreover, this was only the beginning, and branches continued to fall. Looking into the manor, they saw that the old man could no longer resist. The branches in his hand were continuously being slashed by Lin Ling. Meanwhile, the old man's whole body was trembling, and he gradually lost the strength to resist. Previously, he had used the power of a great divine ability to transmit Lin Ling's murderous steps to the endless ancient tombs, but it was still useless. Chapter 44-56. Rumble. At the same time, the giant locust tree outside the manor fell to the ground. Smelly blood flowed out of the tree and it began to wither. Lin Ling's expression did not change after killing the old man. His killing intent was still boiling. His gaze fell on the memorial tablet array and he slashed out. This slash hit the array's weak point. With the old man's death, the array lost its owner and was no longer as ferocious as before. Furthermore, Lin Ling had walked through the tomb path. Now his ability to break the barrier had more than doubled. Crash! With Lin Ling's sword, in addition to Emperor God Zhonggang and the others' frenzied attacks, the array finally collapsed. Countless memorial tablets were like seawater, slanting in all directions. Eventually, they stopped flowing and scattered all over the manor. He's out. Kurishin and the others immediately broke out of the array. They felt as though they had just survived a calamity. Then they looked at Lin Ling with fear. This guy, I'm afraid he now has the true power of a god. That sword, it's crazy. Was he hiding his strength when he fought with me on the sacred mountain? The ox demon patriarch and the others were trembling with fear. They still did not dare to approach Lin Ling. Lin Ling. At this time, the people outside the manor also rushed in. However, when they saw Lin Ling's long hair reaching the ground, his eyes were blood red, and he held a huge blood red sword in his hand. They didn't dare to approach. Don't come near me. I'm suppressing the killing intent, but if you get too close I won't be able to hold back and kill you. Lin Ling looked coldly at the crowd. If not for Yu and the others, he would have already killed them. Good. Titanic Crescent God's mouth twitched as he quickly nodded. I have to leave for now. Yu, follow Emperor God Zhonggang and leave first. I'll find you later. Lin Ling didn't dare to stay any longer. He took a step forward and shot up into the sky, carrying with him a substantial killing intent. Soon after, the ground trembled as Lin Ling rushed back into the tomb. Lin Ling had no choice but to leave. Right now, he hadn't killed to his heart's content, and his body wasn't damaged at all. This simply couldn't vent his killing intent. If he wanted to vent his murderous aura, besides killing to his heart's content, he had to be heavily injured. The more injured he was, the more terrifying his murderous aura would be. Legend had it that during the era of the gods, when this sword demon used the steps of slaughter, hundreds of millions of gods were drowned and annihilated. Let's get out of here first. Watching Lin Ling leave, Kurishin hurriedly said. Everyone nodded and left. Although Yu and the others were worried about Lin Ling, they also knew that the only one who could survive this calamity was Lin Ling himself. Lin Ling's eternal Tao of slaughter. The black deity muttered to himself as he moved forward. Lin Ling is now the real Lei Gong. I'm afraid his strength isn't much weaker than yours or mine. It's just that it's difficult for him to control that power, said Titanic Crescent God. Before Lin Ling had entered the Jier Ox Cave, he had been weaker than them, but now he was stronger than them. Now his strength was even more terrifying than theirs. Not only did he have a breakthrough in cultivation, but he also had an extremely powerful steps of slaughter. Rumble. At this moment, Lin Ling held his sword and rushed back into the tomb. Because the tomb's sky had been cut open, Lin Ling could directly return to the void where the countless memorial tablets were buried. Crash. As soon as he arrived, an endless divine aura suppressed Lin Ling. It was as if all the gods and Buddhas were staring at Lin Ling. Kill. Lin Ling was in need of a place to vent his anger. He held his sword in his hand and went for the kill. Rumble. With one slash, countless memorial tablets were sent flying. Rumble. With another slash, more memorial tablets were chopped off. However, these memorial tablets seemed to have spirits and were completely enraged. They turned into a huge vortex of memorial tablets and swept towards Lin Ling. Crash. Countless memorial tablets in the manner turned into an ocean and rushed into the void through the cracks in the void. In this way, the entire void was filled with memorial tablets. It was very terrifying. Not to mention the gods, even the gods would be scared to the point that their legs would go soft. This was because it was as if they were facing an endless number of ancient gods. Kill. However, Lin Ling, who was in the middle of the vortex of memorial tablets, became more excited. Although he was injured, the more injured he was, the crazier he became. Moreover, he began to use the first stage of his innate ability, fusion. During this process he was slightly calm. He knew that the sword demon was dead, but the power left behind was affecting him. With Lin Ling's current strength, it was difficult to refine this power. He could only vent his anger by continuously killing and letting this power cool down gradually. This power has been left behind in my body. It's a hidden danger. Kill. Lin Ling pounced forward, holding the big sword in his hand and continuously chopping the memorial tablets around him. After killing for an unknown period of time, Lin Ling realized that the murderous aura in his body had not weakened. Instead, it had greatly increased. This shocked him again, because if this continued, he would die of exhaustion sooner or later. Uncle. At this moment, a burst of laughter was suddenly heard. Lin Ling turned his head and immediately saw a white tiger standing in the void not far away. Although the white tiger was trembling and frightened, the girl on the white tiger was laughing as if she was having fun. Lin Ling was shocked. Isn't this the girl? Why is she following me? Don't come over. Leave immediately. Lin Ling said coldly. Uncle's murderous aura can't affect me. Moreover, I'm not afraid. Little White is not afraid either. The girl said with a smile. She kicked the white tiger and made it walk towards Lin Ling. However, the white tiger's legs were already trembling. It could not endure the girl's willfulness and could only brace itself and walk over. Scram! Lin Ling shouted angrily. He was afraid that he would not be able to control his murderous aura and kill the girl. However, the girl was still stubborn and ran over casually. However, this also made Lin Ling realize that the girl's arrival did not affect his murderous aura at all. It was as if the girl was not human, so his murderous aura did not want to kill her. It was very strange. How can this be? Lin Ling frowned. The girl rode the white tiger and arrived beside Lin Ling. She laughed and said, Uncle, I'm right. It's really strange. However, you're also crazy. If you're wrong, then I won't be able to control myself and will kill you. Lin Ling said coldly. As the girl came closer, the feeling became more intense. Although Lin Ling still wanted to kill to his heart's content, he could not bring himself to kill the girl. One had to know that in the past, he would have wanted to kill Yu and the others, but it was weaker. I'm not afraid. The girl shook her head bravely, because if you want to kill, you can kill Little White first. White Tiger. Chapter 4457. What? This seemingly casual sentence caused Lin Ling's pupils to tremble violently. He had always felt that this murderous aura was different from the last time. It was as if it was endless, and he could not vent it at all. However, after the girl's reminder, he realized that this murderous aura had already turned into a divine fetus. No, it should be said that this was the divine fetus left behind by the sword demon. Perhaps, Only by refining this divine fetus into his dantian would Lin Ling be able to completely control it. Of course, this was impossible for others, but it was possible for Lin Ling. This was because Lin Ling could open his 9 dantians, and this murderous aura could become the divine fetus of his 8th dantian. However, it was extremely difficult to open the 8th dantian. The amount of spiritual energy required was several times more than that required for a breakthrough. Big brother, follow me. At this moment, the girl said again and rode ahead on her white tiger. Kill! Lin Ling swung his sword continuously, killing the memorial tablets around him. Only by doing so would the murderous aura's influence on him weaken a little. Of course, he also stared at the girl's back, very curious. Who exactly was this girl? Not long after, more memorial tablets appeared in front of them. These memorial tablets turned into a huge vortex, tens of thousands of miles long and thousands of miles wide. It was like a huge all-storm, constantly spinning in the void ahead. Rumble. A deafening sound was also constantly heard. Standing before the endless memorial tablets, one would feel a sense of shock and insignificance. Over there is the West Foundation. The girl stopped in her tracks and pointed ahead. The West Foundation? Lin Ling frowned. Yes. The girl nodded. After the gods fell, those with great divine power didn't want them to be reincarnated, so they used great divine power to lock them under the divine mountain for future use. There are many such divine mountains in the entire primal chaos realm, and if you can get the foundation of the east, west, north, and south, you can get it. You can obtain the souls of the gods. How do I obtain it? Lin Ling immediately asked. I can help you obtain it, but you have to help me open those memorial tablets. I can't get close. The girl blinked and then said, How do you know all this? Also, I've known you for so long, but I don't know what your name is. You've never told me. Lin Ling asked again. He had never asked before because he thought that the girl would not harm him since she had saved his life. I don't know either, but my name is Mystic Fairy. The girl blinked and said, I only found out about this after I came here. Moreover, someone in the unseen world is telling me to help someone. After completing this matter, I can go back. That person is me? Lin Ling suddenly guessed something. The girl looked at Lin Ling and said, At first I didn't know who it was. But after seeing you, I had a feeling that it was you. This is also a great calamity for me. I have to help you in order to cross this great calamity. All right. Then I'll help you open those memorial tablets. Lin Ling also knew that the young girl really didn't know a lot, so he didn't ask anymore. Then, he held the Tyrant Song sword and rushed toward the spirit tablet vortex in front of him. Third stage. This time Lin Ling activated the third stage of talent fusion. Now his realm-swallowing beast and evil ghost jellyfish had both reached the level of intermediate gods. The third stage of talent fusion's power had also increased greatly. In addition to the killing steps, he immediately cut a hole in the spirit tablet vortex in front of him. Junior, how dare you? The spirit tablets all spoke in unison, mixed with the majesty of ancient great gods. If it was before, Lin Ling would have been scared to the point of his legs turning to jelly. After all, these were ancient great gods. However, Lin Ling was now a god. In addition to his murderous aura, he was not afraid at all. After the spirit tablet maelstrom was cut open, a stone tablet could be seen floating in the center of the maelstrom. Upon closer inspection, this stone tablet was a miniature version of the West Memorial stone tablet that was seen outside. It was also modeled in ancient. Uncle, let me do it. At this time, the young girl rode on the white tiger and rushed in through the hole. Then, she stopped in front of the West Memorial stone tablet. She reached out her small hand and gently touched the stone tablet. A white light spread out. It was very gentle, as if it was cracking something. However, strangely, the power hidden in the stone tablet quietly melted when it came into contact with the white light. Then, the stone tablet kept shrinking until it was the size of a palm and was held in the young girl's palm. Uncle, here you go. The young girl gently pushed the stone tablet in her palm. For me? Lin Ling was shocked. However, the stone tablet had already floated over and disappeared into Lin Ling's body. This made Lin Ling feel that there was something extra in his soul. I just need to find the other 3 stone tablets. The young girl rode on the white tiger and rushed out of the spirit tablet vortex. Behind her, Lin Ling frowned and hurriedly followed. Looking at the surrounding spirit tablets, they had all stopped rotating and were motionless as if they were sealed. The young girl brought Lin Ling out of the void and arrived at the manor outside. Then she said to Lin Ling, "Let's go to the North Memorial Stone Tablet." "Okay." Lin Ling nodded and took the lead. He raised his sword and rushed to the North Memorial Stone Tablet. Kill. Along the way, Lin Ling killed anyone who stood in his way. Of course, he also met many gods. That's Lei Gong, whom the young clan leader wants to kill. The first wave was the demons from the 72 caves. Kill. Lin Ling raised his sword and slashed. Blood boiled and the demons were all killed. The second wave was the experts from the Spirit Nation. After these powerhouses saw Lin Ling, all of them were incomparably terrified. Kill. Even if they were afraid, they would still kill. Kill to their heart's content. Lin Ling could still restrain his killing intent when facing Yu Yu and the others. However, when facing these experts, all of his killing intent poured out. The experts from the Spirit Nation did not even have time to beg for mercy before they were all wiped out. Then they met the experts from the 9 prefectures void. Kill. They met unknown experts. Kill. From the West Memorial Stone to the North Memorial Stone Tablet, countless gods knew that Lei Gong, one of the 4 gods of the 9 prefectures void, had become the god of killing. Moreover, his killing intent was monstrous. Only gods could stop him from killing decisively. After a long time, they arrived at the North Memorial Stone Tablet. There's also a mourning hall in the North Memorial Stone Tablet. The young girl laughed and said. She seemed to be very excited as she watched Lin Ling kill his way from the West Memorial Stone Tablet to the North Memorial Stone Tablet. Over there. Then the young girl pointed in a certain direction. Kill. Lin Ling raised his sword and charged over. It was as if he wanted to turn the bottom of the sacred mountain upside down. After a long time, they arrived at the North Memorial Stone Tablet. It was similar to the West Memorial Stone Tablet, but there was no guardian. Lin Ling slashed open the void with his sword and entered the void filled with countless spirit tablets. Then, with the help of the young girl, he successfully laid the foundation for the North Memorial Stone Tablet. In the endless darkness, painful groans came out one after another. It was very terrifying. Crow. A moment later, all the darkness disappeared, and a black crow flew into the distance. After a long time, it reached the cloaked figures and flew into the body of one of them. Is it settled? A hoarse voice sounded. It's settled. Then an old man said with a smile, "Don't worry, no one is left alive. Let's continue our journey. We must find the Kwafu Sun Chasing Boots, one of the 12 Chaos Divine artifacts. South Memorial Temple has the most human-faced ghost crows. These beasts are related to the Kwafu Sun Chasing Boots. As long as we can find the nest of the human-faced ghost crows, we will be able to find the Kwafu Sun Chasing Boots. This is what the great god of Spirit Nation reminded me. After completing this mission, we must go to West Memorial Temple immediately. That is the battlefield of the gods." The person who spoke earlier said in a low voice. Everyone nodded and continued their journey. After an unknown period of time, a few figures suddenly appeared in front of them. These people were fighting against the human-faced ghost crows. However, they were not weak, so they killed the few scattered human-faced ghost crows. "Oh no, that is one of the 4 great gods of 9 prefectures, Eugene." Suddenly, someone among the cloaked figures let out a low cry. "Eugene." All the cloaked figures stopped in their tracks and looked at the group of people in front of them like the Grim Reaper. Similarly, the group of people was also looking at the cloaked figures. This group of people was Eugene and the rest of the powerhouses. Could they be the heavenly sovereigns that everyone is talking about in South Memorial Temple? An old man said with a frown. Eugene, who was beside him, also had a slight flicker in her eyes. Naturally, she had heard of the heavenly sovereigns of the Spirit Nation. This group of powerhouses seemed to be searching for something in South Memorial Temple. They walked back and forth, and all the gods that they met along the way had died in their hands. She did not expect to meet this group of Spirit Nation's powerhouses today. For a moment, both parties looked at each other indifferently. Their eyes revealed an extremely terrifying murderous aura. The Spirit Nation and the 4 great gods of 9 prefectures had always been at odds. When they met, they would definitely fight to the death. Let's go. All of a sudden, an old man in the spirit kingdom uttered a single sentence. Obviously, they also knew that Eugene was not to be underestimated. She was not someone that they could kill. Perhaps it could be said that in the entire South Memorial Temple, Eugene was the only one that they could not afford to offend. Seeing that the group of Spirit Nation's powerhouses wanted to leave, surprisingly, Eugene and the rest did not say anything. Instead, they looked at the group of people coldly. It seems like Eugene can't be bothered with us. Her target should be a powerhouse at the level of Lord Ning. One of the cloaked figures secretly guessed. Hold on. However, at this moment, a hoarse voice suddenly rang out. The burly cloaked figure who was the leader suddenly stopped in his tracks. He turned around and looked at Eugene calmly. A year ago, during the battle on the Sacred Mountain, Eugene exhausted all her strength in order to summon the Donghuang Bell. After that, she was severely injured by Luli Empress. She should not have recovered her strength. What? Hearing this, the other cloaked figures were shocked. They then looked at Eugene. On the other hand, Eugene and the rest still looked indifferent. However, their hearts skipped a beat as they knew that things were not going well. This was because Eugene had indeed not recovered her strength. That was why she did not go to West Memorial Temple. Instead, she went there alone. She knew that with her current strength, she could not fight against the most powerful gods. She did not expect this group of people to see through her. Yes, so what? However, even if I haven't recovered my strength, it's not difficult to kill you. Eugene said calmly. That's not necessarily true. The burly cloaked figure said calmly. He extended his hand and a blue light lingered on his palm. The cloaked figure stared at the blue light in his palm quietly. Suddenly, he raised his head and said, after divination, I have 70% confidence that I can defeat her. That's interesting. After receiving the cloaked figure's affirmation, the other cloaked figures began to turn around. They then looked at Eugene and the rest with a cold smile. Kill. Chapter 4459. Steps of the Gods. Those under the canopy were the elites of Eugene's main hall. Their strength was monstrous, but when they saw Black Crow's technique, their expressions changed drastically. Steps of the Gods were even more terrifying than the power of the gods. Kiki, not bad. At least there are people who know what's good for them. However, when this old man was arrogant in the era of the gods, you people had yet to be reincarnated. Let me tell you, my steps of the gods are of the Dao Sense realm, and I have yet to recover my strength. Otherwise, it would definitely be of the Dominator realm. Black Crow brought endless darkness to drown the world. He actually had the power of the soul. What's the Dao Sense realm? Humph, insignificant skill. Hearing this, an old man beside Eugene said disdainfully. However, Eugene's expression changed slightly. She said solemnly, everyone be careful. This person's steps of the gods are very powerful. There are 6 steps of the gods. Beginner, Dao Sense, Dominator, Grand Beginner, Ancient, Taisher, and Eternal. He has already reached the first step. He's probably a god from the era of the gods. What? At this moment everyone was shocked. However, Yoshin's expression grew even more unsightly. Because she was able to discern that Heya wasn't the strongest amongst them, while the robust man was the most terrifying amongst them. Coupled with the fact that she was injured, the situation was definitely bad. Die! A cold voice sounded. In the blink of an eye, white bones appeared under the black clouds. One of the Kurishin experts had turned into white bones. King He. Seeing this, Eugene cried out in heartache. Eugene, it will be your turn soon. However, at this moment, Black Crow also let out a cackle. Eugene of the 4 great gods is cold, but also very beautiful. Before we die today, let's have a good time. The other experts of the spirit kingdom sneered as well. In the past, they could only look up to the 4 great gods. They did not even dare to blaspheme them. However, now that Eugene was injured, this was their chance. Therefore, they were excited just thinking about it. After all, not everyone had the fortune to taste a god. In your dreams, Yushin shouted and waved her hand, causing a black lotus to appear on her palm. The black lotus spun and spat out a large amount of darkness, which collided with the darkness released by the crow. Surprisingly, the darkness was stronger than the crows. This woman is actually so strong. If I wasn't injured, I definitely wouldn't be her match. However, she's also a god left behind from the age of the gods. It's normal for her to have such strength, the crow said coldly. However, when he thought about how such an expert was going to be suppressed by him, he became excited. I'll do it. Heavenly Supreme God Bone. All of a sudden, divine light erupted in the sky, and a giant descended. It was like a deity, like a supreme deity, and a fist smashed out like rotten weeds. Rumble. This punch actually broke through the darkness, causing Eugene to spit out a mouthful of blood. He was injured again. Actually, if he was at his peak, then this punch wouldn't be worth mentioning at all. But now, even 20,000 strands of the force of gods was able to give her enormous pressure. Heavenly Sovereign Divine Blood boil. Seeing that Eugene was injured, the man's aura increased once again. He struck out with his palm, which was like a torrential river. Poof! This time Eugene was sent flying and smashed onto the ground. Her face was as pale as a sheet of paper. My lord! The experts below Eugene shouted worriedly. However, they were suppressed by the crow and the rest. Bang! 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 The expert called Heavenly Supreme walked towards Eugene step by step. His footsteps were like thunder, causing the earth to shake. Although I don't get close to women, I haven't experienced the body of a god. So let me have a taste. As he walked forward, the Heavenly Supreme took off his armor and threw it on the ground, causing a loud rumble. Dream on! Eugene struggled to stand up. However, the Heavenly Supreme sneered. He clenched his fist, causing a loud rumble. Then he looked at Eugene and punched her. This punch didn't land on Eugene's body. Instead, it went past her body. However, the powerful force still caused Eugene to tremble and fall again. At this moment, she hated herself for being stupid. She also hated Luli Empress for being heartless. If it weren't for Luli Empress, she wouldn't have ended up in this state. It wasn't a big deal for her to be severely injured at any other time. However, it was when the sacred mountain opened. She obviously didn't want to miss out on the treasures of the sacred mountain. Therefore, she took the risk to enter the sacred mountain. If I wasn't injured, I could kill these ants by myself. Eugene looked coldly at the Heavenly Supreme and the rest. However, the Heavenly Supreme and the rest sneered at her. Crow even transformed into an old man. He had an evil smile on his face and kept licking his lips. Damn it! Eugene cursed angrily. However, she knew that there was nothing she could do. Lord Eugene. Below Eugene's screen, they were all lying on the ground and shouting angrily. They were loyal to Eugene. Therefore, they didn't want Eugene to end up like this. The most despicable thing was that the Heavenly Supreme and the rest of the experts didn't kill them. They wanted them to watch Eugene be humiliated with their own eyes. Rumble. However, at this moment, a terrifying rumbling sound resounded. In the distant sky, a surging killing intent seemed to have materialized as it majestically flew across the sky. In the sky, a man with long blood-red hair flew across the sky. He was holding a sword and his face was full of murderous intent. However, he didn't fly towards Eugene. Instead, he flew in the other direction. However, wherever he passed, there was a rain of blood that obliterated everything. It's Lei Gong. Such a terrifying scene was witnessed by everyone. Yoshin's people were all shocked. Lin Ling. Eugene stared at Lin Ling, who was gradually disappearing. Suddenly, a sense of anticipation rose in her heart. She obviously wanted Lin Ling to help her. However, when she thought of the scene on the sacred mountain, she was too embarrassed to ask. At that time, Lin Ling wanted to kill Luli Empress. However, she tried her best to protect Lin Ling. She even told Lin Ling that Lin Ling had been blinded by hatred and had lost his mind. However, in the end she realized that she was wrong. In fact, she was terribly wrong. Because she trusted Luli Empress, she had ended up in this state. At that time, Lin Ling had tried to persuade her, but she didn't listen. Sir. Eugene couldn't help but shout when she saw Lin Ling fly further and further away. Lin Ling. Although it was a great humiliation and she was too ashamed to face Lin Ling, Eugene still spoke up in the end. However, it was too late for her to speak up now. Lin Ling had already disappeared into the distance and seemed to be heading somewhere. Therefore, he didn't have the time to care about his surroundings. He would only kill anything that stood in his way. He's gone. In the end, he's gone. Seeing this, Eugene finally collapsed to the ground. She had completely lost all hope of survival. It's Lin Ling. The Spirit Nation cultivators were also looking at the sky in the distance with furrowed brows. Chapter 4460. Lei Gong, the most wanted criminal in the Spirit Nation? The battle on the Celestial Mountain shook the realm of the gods. Unfortunately, although he is Lei Gong, he does not have the strength of the previous Lei Gong. As for the Heavenly Supreme, he snorted in disdain. Although Lin Ling was strong, he had assessed himself and knew that Lin Ling was no match for him. This was because his strength was half a step into the ranks of the gods. He was even stronger than Lin Ling. If it weren't for Eugene here, I would have killed Lin Ling first. Lin Ling, you have been saved by Eugene. The Heavenly Supreme did not chase after Lin Ling. Between Lin Ling and Eugene, it was obvious that the latter was the real enemy of the Spirit Nation. Sir, let me do it. At this moment, an expert had already taken off his cloak and was slowly taking off his clothes. He looked at Eugene maliciously. Go. The Heavenly Supreme nodded. He looked around and saw that Black Crow Old Man was also taking off his clothes. This group of bastards can't wait. Rumble. However, before the expert could get close to Eugene, the Blood Sea Sword came and killed the expert in an instant. One had to know that the Spirit Nation expert had the strength of a middle-lower deity. It was impossible to kill him in one move. Who is it? Everyone was shocked. Black Crow Old Man, who had taken off half of his clothes, was stunned. However, when they looked around, they saw that a man with blood-red hair had appeared in the sky. It was as if he had been there from the beginning. No one had noticed his arrival. Moreover, for some unknown reason, when this man appeared, everyone felt a terrifying pressure assault them. It was very cold, so cold that it penetrated their hearts, causing them to have the feeling that they didn't dare to look directly at him. Lin Ling. Then, a series of exclamations began to be heard. Eugene's eyes were filled with excitement. She did not expect Lin Ling to come back. Black Crow Old Man's pupils were also trembling. He had already lost to Lin Ling twice. He had an innate fear towards Lin Ling. The Sky Supreme narrowed his eyes, as if this was the first time he was seeing Lin Ling, and he was filled with curiosity about Lin Ling. Lin Ling, there's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. There's no door to hell, but you barge in. Suddenly, one of the Spirit Nation's powerhouses spoke in a chilling voice. Although Lin Ling's sudden arrival had made him wary, he knew that he had the Heavenly Sovereign and Black Crow Elder on his side. Both of them were top-notch deities, especially the Heavenly Supreme, who was already half a step away from becoming a deity. Compared to Lord Yi back then, his strength was more than double. Kill. However, Lin Ling only had one sentence, and that was to kill. He couldn't be bothered to speak any more nonsense. He only wanted to kill everyone here. Previously, he had been searching for the foundation of the Southern Memorial Temple. However, he suddenly heard someone shouting his name, so he followed the voice and came here. The Blood Sea Sword slashed out. The Spirit Nation's powerhouse who spoke earlier was sliced into two. Such a terrifying slash shocked everyone. It was too fast. A mid-stage lower deity had fallen just like that. Lin Ling, you won't be able to escape today. Black Crow Old Man shouted and wanted to join forces with the Heavenly Supreme to kill Lin Ling. Kill. What welcomed him was a slash, the Blood Sea Sword. Plop. Black Crow Old Man's head fell off, and his eyes were wide open. Too fast. He had actually died and was killed by a slash? How was this possible? This was the only thought Black Crow Old Man had before he died. Clearly, he would never have thought that he would die here, and die so cleanly. One had to know that he had yet to recover his strength from back then. So strong. The Heavenly Supreme's pupils constricted. Lin Ling was different from what he had imagined. He was much stronger than a year ago. What was going on? He couldn't help but lower his head to look at his palm. He saw that the blue liquid in his palm had unknowingly turned red. This is a bad omen. The Heavenly Supreme looked at his palm in disbelief. When did the situation become like this? For a moment he didn't dare to move. He was very afraid. As for the remaining Spirit Nation's powerhouses, they were expecting the Heavenly Supreme to kill Lin Ling. However, when they saw the Heavenly Supreme's expression, they felt that something was wrong. Could it be that the Heavenly Supreme had no confidence? One had to know that the Heavenly Supreme was the deity who was about to take over Lord Ning's position in the Spirit Nation. This time they didn't dare to move. Their expressions were incomparably solemn. Time seemed to have frozen. The Heavenly Supreme looked at his palm solemnly, constantly checking the signs. However, the liquid in his palm was still red and didn't change at all. However, at this moment, Lin Ling's sword moved slightly. This also caused the liquid in the Heavenly Supreme's hand to quietly turn blue. Blue 60% chance I can win. The Heavenly Supreme's pupils constricted. He was actually a little excited. Although he didn't know why the ominous heavenly water would change, it had always been accurate. There was no way it would lie to him. This meant that at this moment he had a 60% chance of killing Lin Ling. One had to know that in a battle between powerhouses, a single breath, a single thought could change the entire situation. Therefore, the current Lin Ling must have a flaw, or the cultivation technique that he was practicing had produced a side effect. Kill. The Heavenly Supreme seized the opportunity. With a shake of his arm, the Heavenly God's supreme bone appeared. This kind of talent was among the intermediate deities. Although his cultivation was only at the intermediate lower deity realm, his talent was amazing. Therefore, he was well-groomed in the Spirit Nation. The Heavenly Supreme has moved. He usually doesn't make a move. Once he does, it means that he has full confidence. Even if he doesn't have full confidence, he must have the confidence to kill Lord Lei Gong. Kill. All the powerhouses of the Spirit Nation were excited. Eugene and the others were extremely nervous, especially Eugene. She knew how strong the Heavenly Supreme was. If he were to compare himself to Lin Ling a year ago, Lin Ling would not be a match for him. Rumble. The Heavenly Supreme's divine fist broke through time and space as it madly pressed down on Lin Ling. This punch contained a total of 40,000 divine forces. Before the Heavenly Supreme punched, he looked at the ominous heavenly water in his palm again. When he saw that it was still blue, his confidence was boosted. Lei Gong, you are dead meat. With no more worries in his heart, the Heavenly Supreme's strength increased by another notch. At this moment Lin Ling squinted his eyes. This was because he sensed that the murderous aura in his body was fluctuating. Because of this, it was slightly affecting him. However, when he sensed the Heavenly Supreme's attack, he finally opened his eyes. At this moment, an extremely terrifying murderous aura was gushing out. It was as if a calm sea had suddenly turned into a violent storm. The sword was slashed out from Lin Ling's hand. Crack! The ferocious Heavenly Supreme's divine fist cracked, and then it exploded. My fist! The Heavenly Supreme was shocked. Unbelievable! He even doubted his own eyes. That was because the Thunder God had actually broken his Divine God's supreme fist with a single strike. What on earth had happened? Chapter 4461. A year ago, Lin Ling could only kill Luli Empress and Han Xia when they joined forces. He was not a real god. However, a year later, Lin Ling gave him the feeling that he was a god. The steps of God, at least of the Dominator level. Suddenly, the Heavenly Supreme thought of something and his eyes trembled. Rumble. However, this was the only thought he had before he died. Lin Ling slashed out again and easily cut him in half. Blood spurted out and the Heavenly Supreme could only watch as his upper body slid down and crashed onto the ground. However, at this moment he saw the heavenly water in his other hand. The heavenly water was black and it was a sign of great misfortune. One thought could bring great fortune, and one thought could bring great misfortune. Misfortune, good fortune. All depended on Lin Ling's thoughts. Plop! When he crashed onto the ground, the Heavenly Supreme finally knew why he had died. Dead, the Heavenly Supreme is dead too. The remaining Spirit Nation elites were all trembling in fear. They had dominated the Southern Memorial Hall and killed all who stood in their way. However, they had finally met their nemesis today. Run! They were afraid and wanted to leave this place immediately. Kill! However, it was too late to escape now. Lin Ling took a step forward and slashed out with his blood sword, easily reaping their lives. After a while, He walked towards Eugene and the rest with his sword in hand. The murderous aura in his eyes did not diminish. So strong, Lin Ling has become so strong. Seeing the grim demon walking towards her, Eugene felt uneasy. However, she also realized that Lin Ling's murderous intent towards her did not diminish at all. It was as if he wanted to kill her too. This made her smile bitterly. Forget it, dying in your hands is better than dying in the hands of the spirit nation. Moreover, I know that Titanic Crescent God and I forced Lei Gong to his death. That's why you hate us so much. Now avenge Lei Gong. I have no regrets even if I die. Eugene closed her eyes and allowed Lin Ling to kill her. Lord Lei Gong, please don't kill Lord Eugene. Kill me instead. Spare me. Back then, Lady Eugene forced Lei Gong of the older generation to his death. That wasn't her intention. She only treated the world will as her enemy. She's someone who only cares about things and not people. Eugene's fans were all kowtowing to Lin Ling, pleading for Eugene. Moreover, they had never imagined that the trial taker Lin Ling from back then would have already reached such heights. Killing gods was as easy as flipping his hand. When he recalled all of this, he found it hard to believe, as if he was dreaming. Kill. However, Lin Ling did not care about them at all. After killing Eugene, he wanted to kill all of them as well. Lord Lei Gong, old Lei Gong, he didn't die. Seeing that Lin Ling was being merciless, one of the old men couldn't help but roar. Pa! Lin Ling stopped in his tracks, suppressing the terrifying killing intent in his body. He stared coldly at the old man who spoke. Elder Lon, what are you talking about? Even Eugene opened her eyes in disbelief. Both the Titanic Crescent God and I saw this. Although I wasn't sure, the Titanic Crescent God told me that it should be Lord Lei Gong. We met him when we first entered the Celestial Mountain. Now, old Lei Gong should be in the depths of West Memorial. The old man gritted his teeth and said, everything I said is true. If I lie, I will forever be a demon. Lei Gong. Lin Ling's eyes flickered as if he was thinking about something. In the end, he didn't say a word. He lifted his sword and flew into the distance. Although he wasn't sure if Lei Gong was still alive, his intuition told him that the old man didn't lie to him. In exchange for agreeing to his conditions, he would spare Eugene's life. Furthermore, if the old man had lied to him, he wouldn't be able to escape from Lin Ling's pursuit in the future. Lin Ling. Eugene had a complicated expression as she watched Lin Ling leave. She recalled the handsome young man under Lei Gong's banner. Back then she looked down on the young man. Now she had to look up to him. She even needed the young man's help to escape this calamity. Thank you. Although Lin Ling had granted her life, Eugene didn't feel embarrassed. She owed Lin Ling too much. This was retribution that she deserved. Uncle, over here. In the distant sky, the Empyrean fairy was waiting for Lin Ling on her white tiger. Lin Ling walked towards the Empyrean fairy. However, he was thinking about Lei Gong. Was Lei Gong really still alive? How could that be? Could it be the Spirit Nation? One should know that the Spirit Nation had the ability to resurrect. Wang Shui was a living example. Therefore, it wasn't impossible for the Spirit Nation's god to resurrect Lei Gong. Furthermore, Lei Gong was one of the hosts of the world's consciousness. It was no small matter. The Spirit Nation's god might resurrect him. I can only know if it's real when I see it with my own eyes. Lin Ling mumbled to himself. He collected his thoughts and looked forward. However, at this moment, countless black shadows rushed up from the ground. They then surrounded the young girl and the white tiger. In the blink of an eye, the young girl and the white tiger disappeared. Caw. At the same time, the cawing of crows could be heard. Upon closer inspection, a large group of human-faced ghost crows had appeared in front of them. This happened very quickly. In addition, Lin Ling was distracted previously. Therefore, he didn't notice it at all. The human-faced ghost crows stared at Lin Ling. Their eyes were cold and sarcastic as if they were mocking Lin Ling. Kill! Lin Ling was instantly enraged. The Empyrean fairy had been snatched away in front of him. This was unforgivable. Moreover, someone dared to snatch her in front of him. Chapter 4462. Russell. Many of the human-faced ghost crows were drooling, but they did not dare to act rashly. Looking at the front of the cave, There were countless white bones and skulls. They were densely packed and piled up like a mountain. Among them, there was a chair made of white bones. Sitting on it was an evil-looking young man in a black cloak. The young man crossed his legs and had a smile on his face. "My king, I've caught her." The human-faced ghost crow carrying the young girl immediately put her down. Caw, 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 caw. Many crows flew down and looked at the young girl curiously. "Why? Are you interested in her too?" the devilish young man said with a chuckle. Caw. The surrounding human-faced ghost crows were shocked and quickly retreated. The human-faced ghost crows did not dare to get close to the young girl. Ha ha ha. The devilish young man swung his cloak and walked toward the young girl. He sized her up and said, "This girl is not simple. She has a mysterious power in her body. I'm afraid she's the reincarnation of a god from ancient times. If I can get this power, my strength will increase tremendously. I'll dominate from the age of gods to the flood, the age of desolation." Obviously, he had noticed the young girl and ordered his subordinates to catch her. "Congratulations, my king." Voices came from all around. It was obvious that there were many human-faced ghost crows that could speak human language. These human-faced ghost crows were undoubtedly stronger. "Oh right, I saw a lunatic beside this girl. Where is that lunatic?" the devilish young man suddenly asked. He looked young, but in fact he had lived for millions of years. He was the mount of a god from ancient times and had been trapped in the sacred mountain for millions of years. He was extremely powerful and was the king of Southern Memorial. "He's dead. The human-faced ghost crow immediately laughed. "Not bad. You've won my heart. I'll reward you greatly for this. That white tiger is also an extraordinary species. I'll reward it to you." The devilish young man smiled faintly. "Thank you, my king. Thank you, my king." The human-faced ghost crow knelt down and kowtowed. The surrounding human-faced ghost crows were extremely envious. Rumble. However, at this moment the cave shook. Then a figure broke through the cave and descended from the sky. Bang! The moment he crashed into the ground, the entire cave shook, waking up countless sleeping human-faced ghost crows. Crash. Moreover, this turbulence caused the skeletons in the cave to collapse. However, just as they were about to submerge the evil youth remained motionless and the skeletons turned into ashes. That lunatic didn't die. And he even came to us personally. The evil-looking young man stared at the newcomer and smiled evilly. "Spare my life, your majesty. Spare my life." The human-faced ghost crow from before immediately kowtowed, but it was useless, because the evil charming young man suddenly grabbed the human-faced ghost crow with his right hand, bit its neck, and started sucking its blood crazily. As for the human-faced ghost crow, it didn't dare to resist at all, allowing the evil youth to suck its blood. "Where are my people?" The newcomer walked forward step by step, his voice cold and indifferent. The killing intent on his body seemed to materialize, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, igniting all the smoke in the cave. "Here." The devilish young man threw away the human-faced ghost crow in his hand and tilted his head with a smile. "You guys are so stupid." The person who came said another sentence. "Is that so? I wonder why you guys are so stupid." The evil youth asked. "Originally, you guys didn't have to die, and just hid in the cave obediently. However, you guys dared to provoke me and even dared to snatch my people. Now all of you are going to die." The person's gaze swept across the entire cave. His eyes were cold and merciless, emitting a dazzling light. You scared me, I'm so scared." Unexpectedly, the evil youth wasn't afraid at all. Instead, he smiled calmly and said, "There are 1 billion human-faced ghost crows in my cave. Can you kill them all?" 1 billion. Hearing this, the person stopped in his tracks and frowned slightly. "What? Are you scared?" It's too late to be scared now." Seeing this, the evil youth laughed loudly. However, his laughter didn't last long, because the person had already said coldly, "It's not that you're scared, but you can barely be my appetizer." Appetizer? 1 billion human-faced ghost crows is just an appetizer. Is this person going to kill until the sky falls and the earth rends? Anger. The evil youth was furious. He had lived for 1,000,000 years, and this was the first time he had seen such an arrogant junior. The surrounding human-faced ghost crows were furious as well. A mere person dared to be so arrogant. To them, this young man wasn't even enough for one person. Yet he wanted to kill 1 billion people. You have a big appetite, but be careful not to die from overeating. Kill him. The evil youth waved his hand, and the entire cave began to tremble. Countless human-faced ghost crows flew out, and a large number of human-faced ghost crows also flew in from the small caves around the cave. They were densely packed, and it was a shocking sight. What was more shocking was that there were so many human-faced ghost crows, but they didn't collide with each other as they flew. Not a single one. This showed how powerful these human-faced ghost crows were. Let me have a good taste of this young girl. The evil youth had already turned around, picked up the young girl on the ground, and was about to enter another cave. Kill. However, at this moment, an extremely terrifying killing intent erupted. It was like a circular shockwave that gushed out in all directions. Whoosh! Countless feathers scattered, and a large number of human-faced ghost crows fell to the ground, killed by the sword. Bang! 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 Following that, more and more human-faced ghost crows fell, as if they were going to fill up the entire cave. This could be called a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Amidst the mountain of corpses and the sea of blood, a figure carrying a sword walked towards the evil youth step by step with a substantial killing intent. Only 1 billion? At the same time, a cold voice echoed in the cave, causing the evil youth to turn his head in disbelief and look deeply at the person who came. One move killed 1 billion human-faced ghost crows. This person's killing intent was too terrifying. For a moment, the two people looked at each other indifferently. One was the demon king of the divine mountain who had cultivated for 1,000,000 years, while the other was young, but had countless inheritances. He was now like the god of death in the age of gods. They looked at each other coldly, causing the cave to fall silent. However, it was like the dawn before the storm, and a destructive storm could erupt at any time. You actually killed so many of my descendants. After an unknown period of time, the evil youth put down the young girl in his hand and said coldly, "Not a lot. If you still have 1 billion, I can barely reach 70% full." Chapter 4463. The demonic youth was the first to move. The cloak behind him suddenly opened up, and countless black feathers fell out. They curled around the demonic youth's hand, and turned into a 2-meter-long pitch-black longbow. This bow was like a demonic bow. There were 2 ferocious crow heads on both sides of the bow. They opened their mouths and their eyes were blood red. It was as if they were alive. Poison jade arrow. He shot out and endless poisonous smoke spread out, covering the entire cave. The cave was corroded, and it turned into a world of poison. In the endless poisonous smoke, a green arrow shot out like a flying green crow. The power of God had reached 40,000. It was terrifying. The world of poison was a kind of divine staircase, and it was constantly corroding heaven and earth. Even Lin Ling felt his body being corroded, and his combat power decreased by 30%. Second stage. Lin Ling shouted. After fusing his innate talents, the sword in his hand slashed out horizontally. Rumble. The power of this sword was vast, and it actually cut the green arrow in half. The demonic youth's eyes narrowed. He didn't expect this person to be so strong. One had to know that even a god would find it difficult to block that sword. But this person in front of him easily slashed out with it. It looked as if he didn't need to use any strength. You're too weak. With this kind of strength you have the nerve to call yourself a demon king. You even dared to touch my people. Now you know regret. After cutting the demonic youth's sword, Lin Ling said coldly. It seemed like a casual sentence, but it was filled with a surging domineering aura. It's just an appetizer. Don't be too proud. The demonic youth sneered, and the bow in his hand shot out quickly. It was obvious that this bow was an extraordinary treasure. Demonic tribulation crow. Countless pitch-black crows shot out from the bow. They didn't shoot in a straight line, but flew in irregular trajectories like crows. Kill. Lin Ling pounced and a sea of blood roiled. Rumble. All the crow arrows were destroyed, and they were unstoppable. It had to be known that the previous arrow had reached the power of 50,000 divinity, and Lin Ling's entire body was covered in poison. But none of this affected Lin Ling in the slightest. How can he be so strong? None of the outsiders in the Southern Memorial Temple have such strength. The evil young man's heart became even more serious, but in the blink of an eye, the blood sword had already arrived. Lin Ling pounced forward, holding the sword with both hands, and slashed down as if it was splitting the heaven and earth. This caused the evil-looking young man's pupils to constrict. This person was actually so fast. However, as the king of Southern Dipper, his strength was naturally no small matter. A black shadow flashed past. It was fast, incomparably fast, reaching the speed of 600,000 worlds. He was the evil young man. As soon as he moved, Lin Ling's sword slashed down on the spot. The entire cave and the world of poison seemed to collapse. True God poison chi. As for the evil-looking young man who dodged Lin Ling's sword, he twisted his body, looked at Lin Ling, and drew his bow to shoot an arrow. This arrow was like an arrow that shot down the sun in ancient times. The originally pitch-black arrow suddenly became scorching hot, and turned into a fire crow. Boom! It flew past like a fire phoenix traversing the void. Third stage. At the same time, Lin Ling let out a low roar. He sensed the extraordinariness of this arrow, and he displayed his strongest state, slashing out with his sword. It seemed like a slow movement, but it carried with it the origin of the great Tao of killing. It killed everything, as if it represented the ancient Tao of killing of the entire void. Rumble. After the fire phoenix-like arrow collided, it was split into two by Lin Ling. Then in the billowing flames, a figure like the god of killing walked out step by step. It was Lin Ling. How can this guy's strength keep increasing? The evil-looking young man's pupils contracted as he watched Lin Ling walk over step by step. He suddenly felt the pressure in his heart increase because he knew that many powerful gods had come to the graveyard of the gods. However, those gods were all in West Memorial Temple, and the gods left in other places were very weak. However, he now knew that in South Memorial Temple, where he was, there was probably a supreme god coming. And this person was the god of killing in front of him. Kill. While he was still in shock, suddenly a substantial killing intent came and enveloped his entire body. A life-threatening crisis descended upon him. This also made the evil-looking young man suddenly look forward. He saw that in the billowing flames, the god of killing figure was still moving forward, but soon it became illusory like a reflection in water. It was an afterimage. On the contrary, behind him, an incomparably terrifying sword slashed down. This sword was a third-stage talent fusion. In addition to the steps of killing. In terms of speed, it was now 600,000 world speed. In terms of power of God, it had now reached 30,000. In terms of physical strength, it was now 4 million worlds power. This was the pinnacle of the pinnacle. The pressure of death enveloping him also made the evil-looking young man's face turn abnormally ugly. Only now did he realize that the young man in front of him had changed unknowingly. In addition to the blood-red hair, he was also wearing a gray robe. Powerful. Too powerful. This person was probably even more powerful than a god. How could this be? Unknowingly, he had provoked such an expert. In a short moment, several thoughts flashed through the evil-looking young man's mind. If he had known that the blood-red-haired man was so powerful, he would not have provoked him. But now it was difficult to change the situation. Besides, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Chasing sun. All of a sudden, the evil-looking young man shouted in his heart. A pair of fiery red boots appeared on his feet. The boots were ancient, and when he stepped on the air, it actually caused the void to crack. At the same time, something strange happened. His speed suddenly skyrocketed and reached 1 million world speed. Then, he dodged Lin Ling's ferocious slash. A speed of 1 million world paces was extremely rare even among late-stage low gods. And this was only the boosted speed of the boots. It did not include the evil-looking young man's own speed. In fact, in total, his speed had reached 1,600,000 world speed. Rumble. After the evil-looking young man disappeared, Lin Ling's slash missed as well. Moreover, his eyes continued to flicker. What incredible speed! Then Lin Ling's gaze fell on the evil-looking young man's legs. He saw that when the boots stepped on the void, countless flaming footprints appeared in the void. It was magnificent and mystical. Come on, kill me. the evil-looking young man said coldly as he appeared on the other side. Then he shot out a large number of arrows. Crows. Like countless crows, they flew toward Lin Ling, wanting to devour everything. Now that the evil-looking young man had erupted with incomparably terrifying speed, it meant that he no longer had to worry about his back. Lin Ling, on the other hand, could only be beaten up without being able to fight back. Kill! Lin Ling slashed out with his sword and cut off the crow's arrows. Then, he chased after the evil-looking young man. But unfortunately, he could not catch up to the evil-looking young man. Chapter 4464. Some of the arrows were sliced apart by Lin Ling while some landed on Lin Ling's body. This made the demonic youth very excited. However, in the blink of an eye, he realized that Lin Ling's body was very tough. He turned into sludge again and all the arrows that landed on his body passed through him, causing very little damage. The chaotic body of the four great ferocious beasts. The demonic youth was shocked once again. This meant that even if Lin Ling did not retaliate, it would still be difficult for him to kill Lin Ling. What a tough bone to chew. After shooting a few more rounds of arrows, the demonic youth finally gave up completely. What happened before was my rashness. I'll apologize to you here. I'll return the person to you. We'll mind our own business. The demonic youth left that sentence and immediately flew into the distance. He did not plan to provoke the great demon Lin Ling anymore. Lin Ling landed on the ground and released little Kunlun to protect the girl. He then took a step forward and chased after the demonic youth. Lin Ling's murderous aura had not diminished. Therefore, how could he let the person he targeted escape? He would kill him even if he had to escape to the ends of the earth. At that moment, the demonic youth had already fled far away. Just as he let out a sigh of relief, an extremely terrifying murderous aura came from behind him. The murderous aura seemed to have materialized and was like a torrential river. Damn it! The demonic youth instantly knew that he was in trouble. The other party had no intention of letting him go. He even guessed that this murderous god could be an ancient great god that had been resurrected from the tomb of the gods. Run! The demonic youth exploded with terrifying speed and disappeared into the distance. He did not believe that the murderous god could catch up to him. After a long time, the demonic youth sat on top of an ancient tomb in Southern Memorial Hall, panting slightly. At this point, he had already been running for an hour. Based on his current speed, the god of slaughter should have lost track of him by now. With that thought in mind, he looked around and suddenly felt that something was amiss. He then realized that a strange jellyfish was floating on top of an ancient tomb not far away. The jellyfish was completely black and looked like a devil. It was staring at him indifferently. Who is it? Suddenly being stared at, the evil-looking young man's hair stood on end. He couldn't figure it out no matter how hard he thought about it. Then he finally thought of something. It was the god of death. Oh my god. What other tricks did this god of death have up his sleeves? How could he make a jellyfish monitor him? This meant that he had no chance of escaping. As he thought of this, the sea of murderous aura in front of him had already arrived. Fuck, the vengeful spirit is still lingering. The evil-looking young man cursed and fled without another word. The evil-looking young man threw caution to the wind and laughed. Since they couldn't reach an agreement, there was no need to talk anymore. Let's see who can outplay who. Seal. However, as soon as he finished laughing, Lin Ling coldly spat out a voice. The wind and rain from all directions enveloped this part of the world. It was as if the whole world was shrinking. On the other hand, the evil young man noticed that an indescribable force was pressing down on him, making it difficult for him to move. The most terrifying thing was that this force didn't have any offensive power. It only had the power to seal him, greatly reducing his speed and making it difficult for him to use the Kwafu sun-chasing boots. It's the god's stairs, and it's of the soul element. Judging from its level, I'm afraid it's too elementary. The evil-looking young man panicked, was shocked and scared. He finally understood why this murderous god kept chasing him and didn't give up at all. This murderous god actually had a way to suppress him. He just needed the right opportunity. The 6 stages of the god stairs were elementary, Dao Sense, Dominator, Grand Elementary, Ancient and Taisher Eternal. The Grand Elementary was clearly more terrifying than the Dominator. This also meant that this murderous god's soul force had reached a terrifying level. Don't kill me. I'll tell you a secret. With his life at stake and his greatest advantage, his speed being suppressed, the evil-looking young man hurriedly begged for mercy. Shio! A sword slashed down, crazily reaping the evil-looking young man's life. Then Lin Ling raised his sword and walked forward step by step. He found the fiery red boots on the evil-looking young man's corpse. I'm not interested in the secrets of the dead. After taking away all the treasures on the evil-looking young man, Lin Ling turned and left. Chapter 4465. 12 Chaos Divine Artifacts, the Kwafu Sun-Chasing Boots. Lin Ling held his sword and walked back step by step. At the same time, he looked at the treasure in his hand and was overjoyed. 12 Chaos Divine Artifacts. The Donghuang bell that Shang Yi had obtained was one of them. Now he had obtained another one. Lin Ling did not expect that there would be such a pleasant surprise in the Southern Memorial Hall. Moreover, it was an unexpected and huge harvest because he knew very well what the 12 Chaos Divine Artifacts represented. The Kwafu Sun-Chasing Boots obviously did not have any offensive power, but it could increase one's speed by a terrifying amount. One had to know that speed was the most difficult domain for a god to improve. Generally speaking, it was already very impressive if one could increase one's speed by 100,000 worlds in one comprehension. However, the Kwafu Sun-Chasing Boots was far more than that. Chasing that crow has wasted a lot of my time. Let's find Empyrean Fairy first. Lin Ling did not have time to touch the Kwafu Sun-Chasing Boots for the time being. After keeping it, he ran in the direction he came from. Obviously, he was in a good mood. He even liked the feeling of killing and robbing. During this period of time, he had killed countless people and accumulated a large number of treasures. Many of these treasures came from the Tomb of the Gods and were extraordinarily powerful. After a long time, Lin Ling arrived at the place where he first came from. He saw a dense forest rising from the ground. That was Little Kunlun. Looking into the forest, he could hear the laughter of a young girl from time to time. The girl was riding on a white tiger and running wildly in the forest with an innocent look on her face. Seeing Empyrean Fairy, Lin Ling's killing intent weakened a little. Perhaps in the entire universe, only Empyrean Fairy could give him such a feeling. Uncle, you're back. The Mystic Fairy was all smiles when she saw Lin Ling. However, the white tiger that she was sitting on was trembling all over. This was because it sensed a murderous aura and blood aura that was even more terrifying than before from Lin Ling. Of course, Empyrean Fairy also quickly sensed the bloody aura from Lin Ling. Uncle, you've killed many people again. Empyrean Fairy said in surprise. She had followed Lin Ling from the Western Memorial Hall to the Northern Memorial Hall, and then to the Southern Memorial Hall. She had witnessed Lin Ling killing countless people. However, this bloody aura was truly terrifying. Yes, Lin Ling nodded. He'd killed 1 billion human-faced ghost crows, and he'd killed countless others while pursuing the evil young man. So, his body was naturally filled with surging blood energy. It could be said that he'd transformed into an ocean of blood now. Let's go. We'll go look for Nandian to lay the foundation now. Lin Ling said again. Although the murderous aura in his body had weakened a lot, it still affected Lin Ling, causing him to be much colder than before. Of course, to Mystic Fairy and the others, this kind of indifference was much better than before. Alright. The white tiger was still afraid of Lin Ling, but the mysterious woman smiled and nodded her head. With the young girl leading the way, Lin Ling searched for the Southern Memorial Altar. After spending an entire day, he finally found the Southern Memorial Altar's foundation. Now, all that was left was to lay the foundation for the East Memorial Hall. Great, I'm about to complete my mission. Seeing that the last foundation was about to be found, Mystic Fairy was undoubtedly very happy. This was because once she found the 4 great foundations for Lin Ling, her mission would be completed. After finding the 4 foundations, I can also obtain the souls of the gods. What's the souls of the gods? Lin Ling looked at the 3 foundations in his hand and frowned slightly. After a long time, the 4th foundation was also in his hands. With this, the 4 great foundations were also in his hands. Uncle, just combine the 4 foundation laying death. Mystic Fairy instructed Lin Ling from the side. Meanwhile, Lin Ling also tried to combine the 4 foundations. After combining the 4 foundations, it turned into a single foundation. This foundation had a slightly different color. It had 4 colors intersecting with each other. There were also ancient runes on its surface that rippled slightly like water. The 4 foundations are combined. Looking at the foundation in his hand, Lin Ling's eyes flashed. "Uncle, try going in and have a look." At this time, Mystic Fairy said again. Then she pointed at Lin Ling and a ray of light entered Lin Ling's mind. In the next moment, a large number of magic words appeared in Lin Ling's mind. "Open!" Lin Ling shouted in a low voice. The foundation floated down quietly and appeared in front of Lin Ling. It opened up an ancient door that looked like the door of a prison. Countless noises could be heard from within. Creak! After digesting the magic words that Mystic Fairy had given him, Lin Ling pushed the door open and entered. What was surprising was that after the foundation was laid, it was dark, as if they had arrived at a prison. A gloomy aura filled the air, and water dripped from the ceiling of the prison from time to time. If one looked carefully, they would see that it was a corridor with no end in sight. The 2 halves of the corridor were filled with prison cells, and there was a forest. When Lin Ling arrived, many heads popped out from the prison cells and looked at Lin Ling curiously. There were cow heads, dragon heads, elders, and children. Their eyes were filled with curiosity as they stared at Lin Ling, mixed with a strange murderous intent. It was just that the prison cells had trapped them, so they could do nothing about it. This is inside the 4 foundations? There are so many souls of gods and demons locked up here. Lin Ling ignored the complicated looks and said indifferently. Through the magic words that Mystic Fairy had given him, he already knew where this place was. He also knew that the souls of gods and demons were locked up here, and it was impossible for them to break out of the prison cells. On the contrary, Lin Ling was the only warden in this prison. In this prison, other than the life and death of the souls of gods and demons, he could do whatever he wanted. Therefore, he was not afraid of these prisoners. Instead, he was curious about how strong the gods and demons were trapped in this prison that trapped the souls of gods and demons. He walked along the corridor and the prison cells on both sides of the corridor quietly changed color and turned blue. However, no prisoners popped their heads out of the prison cells. Instead, Lin Ling saw that some of the prisoners in the prison cells were sitting cross-legged in cultivation, some were drinking wine, and some were torturing themselves by constantly chopping off their own limbs. Their own limbs. Even when Lin Ling arrived, they did not even look at Lin Ling, which was very strange. These prisoners have become even stronger. I'm afraid they have the strength of a god. Lin Ling thought to himself and continued walking. Then, he seemed to have arrived at the 3rd section of the prison cells. When he looked carefully, the prisoners in the prison cells had become even more strange. There was a snake woman, a 2-headed witch, and even to a blind monk with a lantern and so on. "Sir, I beg you to let me out." A charming vixen looked at Lin Ling pitifully. Then she exposed her shoulders and tempted Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling did not even look at her and continued walking. This new sir is so cold. It seems that he is not easy to deal with. Chapter 4466. Hard times are coming. Look at how impartial he is. I'm afraid it'll be difficult for us to be released. Sigh. Someone else said. These prisoners were actually people who had been imprisoned here since ancient times. They were people who had committed heinous crimes. However, during the War of the Gods, the prison was broken, causing them to be lost in the era. Even so, they still could not escape from the prison. Furthermore, they could not see the sun all year round, except for a certain day every year. Every year, they could be released from the prison and enjoy a day of freedom. Of course, this freedom was only limited to the prison. However, to the gods and demons, this day was incomparably precious. After all, being trapped in a space less than 3 meters in size and having all their means suppressed, even the gods could not bear the boredom and loneliness. However, a new warden had appeared. If they were to be deprived of that day's holiday, they could only continue to live like a year. Your Excellency, the person you're looking for is in West Memorial. You'd better hurry there immediately because I've performed a divination for you. Your loved ones are in danger. Suddenly, an old man's voice came from one of the prison cells. Lin Ling stopped in his tracks and looked over indifferently. Then he saw a blind old man sitting in the prison cell. In front of him was a tortoise shell with a row of copper coins lined up in a row. Nonsense. Lin Ling sneered. Ha ha, I'm Lord Shen. My master is from the Hollow Jade Palace. For so many years my divination has never been wrong. You're the first person to say that I'm talking nonsense. The old man suddenly laughed. Moreover, every divination I perform will shorten my lifespan by 10 years. Therefore, those who want to ask me for a divination, regardless of whether it's in the ancient times or in the ancient times, are in the ancient times or not. Even if it's not in the hundreds of millions, it's in the tens of millions. I've spent 10 years of my lifespan to perform a divination for you, but you don't know how to appreciate my kindness. Lord Shen? Lin Ling's eyes suddenly flashed. He asked, who is Shen Gongbao to you? He remembered that in the investiture of the gods, Shen Gongbao and Jiang Zia both came from the Hollow Jade Palace. This person's master was from the Hollow Jade Palace and his surname was Shen. Therefore Lin Ling asked casually, how do you know my master? Who knew that Lin Ling's words made Shen Gongho's face change? Seeing his appearance, Lin Ling was more certain that this old man was Shen Gongbao's disciple. Let me ask you. You said that the person I'm looking for is in Shifan. Is he still alive? Lin Ling asked. Life and death, death and life. Without death, how can there be life? Shen Gongho said indifferently, the person you are looking for is no ordinary person. He is someone who changed the era. However, although he is dead, he is actually alive now. Lin Ling's pupils constricted when he heard this, because the person he was looking for was Lei Gong. Although Shen Gongho didn't say it explicitly, it clearly stated that Lei Gong was a person who changed the era, and Lei Gong was the host of the world's will. It was indeed so. Earlier you said that my loved ones are in danger. Then where is the danger? Lin Ling asked again. Ha ha ha. Shen Gongho laughed and said indifferently, if it was a moment ago, this danger would have been wiped out. However, at this moment fortune and misfortune have changed. Great misfortune has turned into great fortune. What you mean is that without your reminder my family would have been wiped out. However, after your reminder they are all fine. Lin Ling's eyes flashed as he asked. Ha ha ha. This time, Shen Gongho didn't say anything and only laughed. However, Lin Ling already knew what he meant. It meant that without Shen Gongho's reminder, Lin Ling would have wasted more time here. However, now that he knew that Yu and the rest were in danger, he would definitely rush over. Therefore Yu and the rest were all fine. They had escaped danger. Let me ask you again. How do I open this pair of boots? Lin Ling's previous worries had now been suppressed. The Quafu Sun chasing boots appeared in his hand as he asked. Sincerity can move metal and stone. The old man glanced at the Quafu Sun chasing boots with shock in his eyes. Then he said calmly, all right, I'll give you a day off. You can go wherever you want to go. After a day, come back on your own. Lin Ling nodded and turned to leave. At the same time, he formed a complicated seal with both hands. Then, a door appeared behind the prison cell and light bloomed from it. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Sensing this, the old man shouted in surprise. He bowed deeply to Lin Ling and pushed the door open to leave. He had been imprisoned for millions of years and could only face the cold iron walls every day. Now he could finally leave. Although it was only for a day, it was enough. He had to cherish this day and enjoy it to his heart's content. Lin Ling watched Shen Gongho leave indifferently. Then, he planned to leave first to help Yu and the rest. As for whether Shen Gongho would return, he wasn't worried because he knew that if Shen Gongho didn't return after a day, his soul would be destroyed and he would never be able to reincarnate. Sir, I also have something to say. At this time a large number of voices came from the prison cell. Obviously, they were jealous when they saw Shen Gongho leave. However, Lin Ling didn't have time to care about them. There were so many people in the prison. If he talked to them one by one, he didn't know how long it would take. So, he went to help Yu and the rest first. After leaving the prison, the Dianji turned into a ray of light and disappeared into Lin Ling's body. Uncle, this Dianji will follow you forever. If you use it well, it can help you return to the divine position and become famous in the chaos. At this time Mystic Fairy looked at Lin Ling with a smile. It seemed that after helping Lin Ling, she had completed her mission and was no longer as carefree as before. Mystic Fairy, are you leaving? Lin Ling didn't have a hard time guessing her intentions. Yes, my mission has been completed and I have survived a great calamity. Now I have to go back. In the future, Uncle and I will meet again. Mystic Fairy nodded with a smile. Mystic Fairy, is the Chaos Realm very far away? Lin Ling asked again. It wasn't difficult for him to guess the origin of Mystic Fairy. It's not far, but it's not near either. It's in your heart. However, what made Lin Ling speechless was that Mystic Fairy was also speaking in riddles. Uncle, goodbye. But before I leave, I have to tell you that there will be a great calamity on this trip that can destroy your divine soul. That's why I came to help you. However, although the omen of great calamity has passed, there is still good luck in the future. So, Uncle, you have to be careful. Use the things that I have given you. Help. Mystic Fairy reminded Lin Ling at the same time as she rode the white tiger into the distance. Thank you. Lin Ling nodded and his eyes continued to flicker. He guessed that this trip to Shidian would be dangerous. Fortunately, Mystic Fairy also told him that it would be a daunting experience without danger. Just as I guessed, someone is secretly helping me. Chapter 4467. Swoosh. A figure flashed through the sky like thunder. That surging killing intent bared its fangs and brandished its claws, as if it wanted to tear the sky apart. Sincerity can move metal and stone. This figure was Lin Ling. At this moment, he was thinking about Shen Gongho's words because he also found out that the Quafu sun-chasing boots was very difficult to refine. After all, it was one of the 12 chaotic divine artifacts. When the evil young man obtained it, he probably took a long time to refine it. If I can't use this pair of boots, it's just a pair of ordinary items. If I want to control this pair of boots, I have to send my divine vitality and soul power into the boots. However, the effect is not great. The boots are like a dead object. I can't move them at all. However, Shen Gongho said that sincerity can move metal and stone. Then, only by continuously communicating with this pair of boots will it be effective. With this thought in mind, Lin Ling separated one of his dantian of the dragon god talent, and let the divine vitality in his dantian continuously enter the boots. He hoped that through patience, he could completely communicate with the boots. Look, who is that? His aura is so terrifying. I'm afraid he has the strength of a god. When Lin Ling flew across the sky, many gods on the ground saw Lin Ling and were shocked. Oh no, that's Lei Gong. Someone noticed Lei Gong and his expression changed greatly. However, although Lin Ling was very famous in the four palaces, there were still people who didn't know him. Therefore, those people curiously said, Lei Gong is so strong. I really hope that I can have such strength in the future. He is strong, but Lei Gong is a god who kills people like scything flax. He kills people on sight. Run quickly. Those who knew of Lin Ling's fierce reputation began to flee. Those who didn't know were also shocked. Although they didn't know what was going on, they felt that something was wrong. Therefore, they also quickly fled. What's going on? Tell us. As they fled, they asked, I remember that Lin Ling is one of the 4 great gods of the void of the 9 prefectures. Why did he become a murderer? You don't know about this? Let me tell you, after entering the sacred mountain, Lin Ling killed without hesitation. From the Western Memorial all the way to the Northern Memorial, everyone he met along the way was killed by him. Moreover, these were people who had no enmity with him. If he did, he would have chased them to the ends of the earth. What? It's over. We are the true disciples of Miao Shun. I heard that Lin Ling and Miao Shun's true disciples have a huge grudge against each other. The group of people who understood the situation were so scared that their legs turned to jelly. However, the killing intent in the sky was like an ocean. It was getting closer and closer to them, causing these people's faces to turn ashen. In the end, they gave up on running away. In fact, they were even prepared to die. However, when they thought that Lin Ling would make a move, the murderous aura in the sky quickly disappeared and actually floated into the distance. He didn't kill us. Those who escaped from the calamity felt as if they were dreaming. How could they know that Lin Ling only wanted to reach Yu and the others as soon as possible? Moreover, he was wondering who was the one who made a move on Yu and the others. After all, Yu and the others had God Emperor Zhonggang and the others by their side. How could ordinary gods be a match for them? Fortunately, I met Shen Gongho. Otherwise, this matter would be troublesome. However, although Shen Gongho said that the calamity has passed, there are always exceptions to everything. I have to be faster. Lin Ling's third phase talent fusion burst out with 600,000 world speed. Rumble. The Western Memorial was obviously much stronger than the other three. When Lin Ling flew past thousands of graves, it seemed to have awakened some monsters. On the ground, a huge coffin quietly emerged. A hairy arm stretched out from the coffin and suddenly grabbed at the sky. Come down for this, king. This arm did not look like a human's arm. It was covered with thick hair and looked very terrifying. Moreover, this attack was so terrifying that it probably had the strength not weaker than a god. It might even be stronger. Kill. However, Lin Ling did not even look down and ruthlessly slashed out with his sword. Although he knew that flying through the sky would definitely attract the attention of many demons in the graveyard of the gods, he was in a hurry. Therefore, he could not care less. Whoosh! When the sword landed on the huge arm, it actually slashed out endless green smoke. Moreover, the palm was not cut off by Lin Ling. Instead, the palm was cut open by Lin Ling. What a sharp sword! A hoarse voice sounded at the same time. Then the arm retracted and disappeared into the coffin. Obviously, this powerful existence also knew that a sword could injure it. This meant that the gray-robed man in the sky was not to be trifled with. He probably had the strength to kill a god with a single sword. At least among the lower gods, there were very few who could block that sword. Even late-stage lower gods were not many. Of course, Lin Ling was also surprised because his sword could only injure the opponent and not kill it. This meant that the thing in the coffin was very powerful. The demons in the Western Memorial are indeed powerful. No wonder the Kurishin and the others have to be careful. Lin Ling thought to himself. Then, he checked the voice transmission talisman in his hand. After confirming Yu and the others' location, he increased his speed by a notch. It actually increased my speed by 50,000 world cycles. Then, Lin Ling was surprised to find that the Kwafu sun-chasing boots seemed to have a reaction. He immediately put on the boots and the divine energy in his dantian continued to flow into his boots. If it were other gods, they would not dare to do so easily. In the graveyard of the gods, divine energy was very important and needed to be used to guard against unexpected situations. However, Lin Ling had 7 dantians. If he consumed the divine energy in one dantian, he still had 6 dantians. This was also the reason why Lin Ling was not afraid of late-stage lower gods. At this moment, in the depths of the Western Memorial, waves of terrifying energy gushed out in all directions like seawater. Several people in green Taoist robes calmly looked at the center of it. It was Yu and the others. There was God Emperor Zhonggang, the giant ghost, the radiant golden dragon and Yu. And they were using their most powerful methods to resist the attacks from the sky. Above the sky, an ancient Buddhist lamp was floating, blooming with a gentle light. However, this light was also very domineering. When it pressed down, it brought with it a power that could destroy the heavens and earth and wipe out all demons and devils. This power was very strong. Even God Emperor Zhonggang found it difficult to resist it. You people, who are you? Suddenly, a voice came from the ground. It was in Yuer's voice. Because God Emperor Zhonggang and the others were using all their strength to resist the Buddhist lamp in the sky, they no longer had the energy to speak. You people should give up resisting. I can leave your corpses intact. In the sky, the few people looked at the ground indifferently. Their faces were expressionless as if they were rewarding Yu and the others. You are all late-stage lower gods and have rich divine energy. I'm afraid you have cultivated in this realm for more than 100,000 years. Why haven't I seen you in the void of the 9 prefectures? Chapter 4468. After Lin Ling left, they traveled together with the Kurishin. However, after traveling for a while, the Kurishin and Titanic Crescent God sensed a fierce battle ahead. Hence, he told them not to get close and left with the rest of the experts. Emperor God Zhonggang and Giant Ghost were worried about Nanwu Fengyu and wanted to go deeper. However, when they thought about Yu and the others, they slowed down and waited for Lin Ling. Who would have thought that they would run into this group of people? This group of people was extremely powerful and seemed to have come for Lin Ling. They attacked as soon as they saw him. If not for their numbers, they would have been wiped out long ago. Furthermore, they could sense that this group of people was not using their true strength. 9 continents void? Hearing in Yu'er's words, the few of them looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with mockery. Don't treat the void of the 9 prefectures as the entire void, because the void of the 9 prefectures is actually a part of the divine realm, and the divine realm is a part of the chaos realm. In the real void, there are as many powerful gods as there are hairs on a cow. With your strength, if you were placed in our place, you would at most be an outer sect disciple. The likes of you. One of them smiled faintly. Is that so? You spoke with disdain. You talk so much, but you don't even dare to tell us where you came from. In my opinion, you must be a nobody. Are you trying to goad us? The person shook his head. The reason I didn't say anything is not because I'm afraid of anything. I just thought that even if I told you, you might not know who I am. However, since you want to know, then so be it. In order to prevent you from dying without knowing why, I'll tell you. We're from Burning Heart. My name is Duan Nan. As for what Burning Heart is, haha, it's much more powerful than your so-called 4 gods, the Dragon Clan, the Immortal Spirit Empire, the 10 Orthodoxies, and the U Continent's divine ruler, including the Spirit Empire. The man named Duan Nan said faintly. Burning Heart? Yu and the others racked their brains, but they had never heard of this name. In fact, other than the Immortal Spirit Empire, the Dragon Clan, the Spirit Empire, the 10 Orthodoxies, and the U Continent's divine ruler, they had never heard of it. You came from the Chaos Realm? Suddenly, Emperor God Zhonggang roared. Didn't I tell you before? Or do you not know what the primal Chaos Realm is? Duan Nan laughed. I don't care where you came from, but since you dared to provoke Lei Gong, you will die without a doubt. As long as Lei Gong comes, you will definitely regret it. The radiant golden dragon also spoke. Lei Gong Lin Ling, right? We're so scared. Duan Nan continued to laugh. His laughter was full of sarcasm and disdain. I'm sorry, but we're here for Lei Gong Lin Ling. Our burning heart wants to capture him alive, and you're all his people. As long as you're dead, I think even if we don't look for Lei Gong Lin Ling, he will take the initiative to seek revenge from us. Revenge? Alright, I've said all that needs to be said. Now all of you can die. Rumble. The Buddhist lamp in the sky shone brightly. Within the light, there was a Buddhist god with slender eyebrows sitting cross-legged. He was divine and extraordinary. Pop, pop, pop. The light was extremely terrifying. It actually carried a divine staircase. The power of the divine staircase was very domineering. It was like the Orthodox Buddhism. Boom! A rumbling sound was heard, and everyone under the Buddhist lamp was sent flying. A huge crater was formed on the ground. Looking around, countless graves were dug up. Coffins, tombstones, and white bones were tumbling in the sky. However, under the light of the Buddhist lamp, they were turned into ashes in the blink of an eye. Ashes! Puff! Yu and the rest fell to the ground and spat out blood. They felt their dantian rumbling as if it was about to collapse. What a domineering power! I'm afraid only 100,000 divine power can withstand it. Even Emperor God Zhonggang fell to the ground. Beside him was the Golden Skeleton King. However, the skeleton on its body was full of cracks. Stubborn. In the sky, Duan Nan shook his head. He waved his right hand and a man immediately strode down. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Emperor God Zhonggang. After laughing coldly, his big hand grabbed out. I can see that you are from the age of gods and your strength is not bad. Unfortunately, we are from the primeval age. That person's eyes were filled with disdain. He did not show any mercy when he attacked. I didn't expect to die here after reviving. Looking at this person's attack, Emperor God Zhonggang sighed in his heart. He wanted to resist, but he could not raise his divine vitality. Therefore, he could only close his eyes and willingly accept his death. However, he thought that he would be killed, but after waiting for a while, he did not feel anything. Even the Golden Skeleton King, who was constantly worried about him, seemed to be silent at this moment. Could it be that this god killed his Golden Skeleton King first? He suddenly opened his eyes, but he found that the Golden Skeleton King, who had followed him for many years, was fine. It was still sitting beside him in the form of a little skeleton. However, its empty skeleton eyes were looking in front of him. The man in front of him maintained his attacking posture, But he did not move. Looking carefully, a sword appeared in his chest. A sword had pierced through his back. It was this sword that caused this god to be unable to attack anymore. Following this person's gaze, one could immediately see a gray-robed man standing behind him. At this moment, he was holding a sword and maintaining the appearance of the sword pointing forward. Lin Ling. When he saw the person clearly, Emperor God Zhonggang's entire body trembled. Lin Ling had finally returned. Lin Ling. Yu Yu and the others also stared at Lin Ling and could not help but shout excitedly. Although they were about to die previously, they all had intuition that Lin Ling would definitely come. This intuition was baseless, but they firmly believed in it. Because they knew that they were the most important people to Lin Ling would not let them die. Lin Ling nodded. He had killed countless people in the other 3 palaces. Now that his killing intent had weakened a little, he could barely control it. At least he would not want to kill his own people. Lin Ling? The few people in the sky also stared at Lin Ling. In fact, this was the first time they had seen Lin Ling. You are one of the 9 states void's 4 great gods, Lei Gong Lin Ling. Duan Nan said indifferently. He was a little shocked. He did not expect Lin Ling to come so quickly. It was as if he knew their movements like the back of his hand. Who are you people? Lin Ling raised his head and looked at them, but did not answer them. Burning Heart. Duan Nan said calmly. Chaotic Realm? Lin Ling instantly understood. However, he was also very suspicious. The people from the Chaotic Realm actually knew him? Moreover, from the looks of it, these people had specially come for him. However, he did not know anyone from the Chaotic Realm at all. Suddenly, he thought of Empyrean Fairy and the person who had helped him in the Eternal Kingdom. Chapter 4469. Maybe it was because of the Chaos Divine Formula, or maybe it was because of some treasure, or maybe it was because of Lin Ling, or maybe it was because of Lin Ling himself. Of course, there was also a possibility that it was because of Lin Ling's previous life. Let go of my junior brother and come with us. Then I'll spare their lives. Otherwise, they'll all die. Duan Nan didn't know what Lin Ling was thinking. Instead, he said this with a smile, looking very relaxed. Since Lin Ling was here, it was a good opportunity to bring him back and save him some trouble. Let go. Lin Ling raised his head, his face still cold. Don't worry, I'll let go. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly pulled out the sword in his hand and slashed horizontally. Rumble. A head fell to the ground and rolled like a rubber ball. Blood gushed out from the neck of the god who was killed by the slash like a fountain. Killing a god with a single slash was as easy as slaughtering a chicken or a dog. So powerful. The pupils of Emperor God Zhonggang and the others trembled. Previously, when Lin Ling killed the old locust tree, it took him many slashes to succeed. But now with just one slash. One should know that this person was a late-stage lower deity expert. Gods with such strength were the most difficult to kill, unless their strength was much stronger. How terrifying! Even the pupils of the light golden dragon and the others trembled. After all, when they were in the 72 caves, Lin Ling wasn't this powerful. But now his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. How could they know that when Lin Ling killed the old pagoda tree, he hadn't utilized the 3rd stage innate talent fusion, and he'd merely utilized the steps of slaughter? Now that he'd utilized the 3rd stage innate talent fusion, his strength was at its peak. Junior brother. Duan Nan and the others were all shouting, their eyes as red as blood. Obviously, they didn't expect that Lin Ling would dare to kill their people in front of them. He dared to kill people from the Chaos Realm. To the gods of the Chaos Realm, the void of the 9 prefectures was like the mortal world. Whether it was strength or age, it could never be compared to them. Let them go? Don't worry, I'll let them go. Duan Nan also remembered what Lin Ling said before. I'll let them go. But he killed them. Damn it. However, Lin Ling acted as though he didn't see Duan Nan and the others' anger. Instead, he came before Emperor God Zhonggang and took out a jade bottle. He said to Emperor God Zhonggang, "Open your mouth." Hearing this, although Emperor God Zhonggang was suspicious, he still opened his mouth. After that, Lin Ling dripped a drop of emerald liquid into his mouth. This liquid slid down his throat and quickly healed his injuries. This jade bottle was obtained by Lin Ling from one of the gods after he killed his way from West Memorial Hall to North Memorial Hall. As a matter of fact, he had killed people for their treasures, and now he had countless treasures on him. You guys open your mouths too. Lin Ling walked towards the others and gave each of them a drop. Amazing! What kind of treasure is this? Sensing that their injuries were recovering, everyone was shocked. After reaching the level of a god, it was very difficult to heal injuries with the god's spring alone, unless one's own recovery ability was very strong. Like Lin Ling's, otherwise, one could only rely on the accumulation of time. On this point, the bright golden dragon was an example, and so was Eugene. However, a drop of liquid was enough to heal 80% of their injuries. This was really shocking. Jade Cicada True Liquid. Looking at the treasure Lin Ling took out, Duan Nan and the others in the sky were also shocked, and their eyes were filled with envy. This kind of treasure was very rare. Even in the divine realm and chaotic realm, there were not many of them. Not only did it have the effect of healing, but it could also assist in cultivation. Of course, more gods only kept this treasure to heal their injuries. After all, the Jade Cicada True Liquid was not the only treasure that could replace cultivation. Damn it, such precious treasures are used by these trash. Moreover, where did this Lin Ling get these treasures? Duan Nan gritted his teeth and said, he probably got them in the graveyard of the gods. After all, there are many gods buried here, and some of the treasures were not taken away. So Lin Ling got them by luck. Another person guessed, what an enviable guy. He's just a piece of trash from the void of the 9 states, but he has more treasures than us gods from the chaotic realm. Duan Nan nodded, but he was even more jealous. You guys are really stupid. At this moment, Lin Ling put away the jade bottle. He then slowly looked at Duan Nan and the others and said coldly, stupid. Duan Nan immediately sneered and looked very suspicious. When I was healing them, you guys could have run away. If you were faster than me, you might have been able to escape. Of course, this hope is very slim, but it's still hope. However, you guys just stood there in a daze. If you're not stupid, then what are you? Lin Ling said. Ha ha ha. Hearing this, Duan Nan and the others laughed. Although Lin Ling killed their junior brother was the weakest among them. Moreover, Lin Ling only relied on a sneak attack. Taking a step back, they still had 3 gods here. Whether they joined forces or fought one-on-one, Lin Ling was no match for them. Let me tell you, if we want to run away, you can't kill us. Of course we won't run away, because the one who wants to run away is you. After laughing, Duan Nan said contemptuously, can't kill you? Unless you have 2 million worlds and can reverse time and space, otherwise I really can't kill you. Lin Ling said. Ha ha ha. Duan Nan and the others who had just stopped laughing reappeared. This Lin Ling, who was only a middle-stage lower deity, was really arrogant. 2 million world speed? It was already amazing for a late-stage lower deity to have 1 million world speed, let alone 2 million world speed. Even if we have 1 million world speed, you still can't kill us. Lei Gong Lin Ling, I didn't expect you to be such an arrogant person. You really surprised us. Duan Nan shook his head continuously, mocking Lin Ling for his lack of knowledge. Hearing this, Lin Ling did not say anything. 1 million world speed? Not long ago, the evil young man had 1,500,000 world speed, but he was still hunted down by him through 9 streets and was killed in the end. If he had 1 million world speed, it could only be said that he would die even faster. Lin Ling, run away. We won't be able to run away, not in this lifetime. Instead, you're the foolish one. If you don't run away, you'll be taken away by us next. After one of them laughed, he looked coldly at Lin Ling and was about to attack. Lin Ling allowed them to laugh. After they finished, he said slowly, you talk the most nonsense. If that's the case, I'll start with you. I'll start with you. His words made the eyes of the person who spoke narrow, and he almost laughed again. Did this Lei Gong Lin Ling think they were cabbages? That he could kill whoever he wanted? Just as he was about to speak, Lin Ling had already arrived and slashed with his sword. Swoosh! His head flew off and blood gushed out. With one slash, another deity was killed. Chapter 4470. Moreover, not only was Lin Ling fast, but he was also very strong. If the first person was killed by Lin Ling's sneak attack, then the person in front of them was not like that. He died right in front of their eyes. Subconsciously, they all turned to look at Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling had already disappeared at some point. What? Everyone was shocked and panicked. A sense of unknown death lingered in their hearts. The unknown was always the most terrifying. They immediately unleashed their full strength and waited solemnly. Boom! At this moment a roar sounded. One of them trembled as a punch landed on his chest. It was Lin Ling. This punch was extremely ferocious. Not only did it carry the strength of the flesh, but it also carried the power of the gods. Now that Lin Ling had 2 mid-god divine embryos, after fusing their talents, he was even more domineering. Whoosh! That god was stunned. He looked down and saw that his armor, inner armor, treasures, divine energy, and other items were spurting out of his back as if they had been hit by a gust of wind. Moreover, his divine embryo, the blood of the blue snake divine embryo of an 8th grade lesser god, had also been knocked out. Crack! Crackle crackle! The blue blood sprayed out in midair and then exploded. You! He looked up at Lin Ling and wanted to say something, but he could not utter a word. Plop! He fell from the sky. One punch. Just like that, a late-stage lower god had fallen. Ever since Lin Ling's 2 divine embryos had become mid-god, their strength had been different from before. Especially the strength of the flesh after fusing, it could reach 4 million divine energy. If he used Split the Heavens, it could reach a terrifying 8 million divine energy. Ah! Finally, someone cried out, completely scared out of his wits. Now there were only 2 people left. Whoosh! Lin Ling did not even look at him. He slashed horizontally with his sword, and the frightened man was cut in half at the waist. No amount of divine energy could protect him. To Lin Ling, without 100,000 units of divine energy and a mid-god's innate divine embryo, any late-stage low god was not worth mentioning. Bang! Another person smashed into the ground, dead as can be. It was as if these gods from the Chaos Realm were nothing more than clay chickens and pottery dogs. The wind was howling, and blood was flowing silently. Emperor God Zhonggang and the others raised their heads and opened their mouths wide. They were so shocked that they couldn't say a word. Especially Emperor God Zhonggang. He was the most shocked because back then in the Eastern Sea Dragon Palace, Lin Ling wasn't much weaker than him. Now that he had broken through, he thought that he would be stronger than Lin Ling. He had also made a breakthrough, and with his mid-stage low god strength, he could easily kill a late-stage low god. Clearly, the current Lin Ling was slightly stronger than him. How can this Lin Ling be so strong? Burned Heart asked us to capture him, but I'm afraid we can't do it. Duan Nan was the only one left. He was also shocked because even he couldn't kill his junior brother in one move. Therefore, he knew that Lin Ling had a lot of trump cards. Maybe he was talented, maybe he had terrifying divine energy, or maybe he had cultivated some kind of divine ability. Of course, what he didn't expect was that everything he guessed was true. It was because of these trump cards that Lin Ling could kill gods as easily as killing dogs. Now, do you think you're stupid? At this time, Lin Ling turned to look at Duan Nan. Duan Nan took a step back when Lin Ling looked at him. He frowned and said, "What do you want?" "What do I want?" Lin Ling laughed and shook his head. "You came from the Chaos Realm. Although I don't know what your purpose is, you want to capture me and kill my people. Now that you're no match for me, you still have the nerve to ask me what I want? Or are all the gods in the Chaos Realm so stupid? Are you so arrogant? However, I don't need to explain anything to you. I've killed countless people, and you're just one of the souls that died under my sword." Duan Nan's face turned even uglier when he heard that. He had come with confidence, but now his life was threatened. Suddenly, Duan Nan looked hysterical and shouted, "I don't believe that you, a middle-stage lower deity, can be so strong. I came from the Chaos Realm and have cultivated for 8,970,000 years. I've fought countless battles in my life. A total of 100,000 battles. How can I be afraid of you, a junior from the 9 prefectures void? Go to hell." He opened his hands, and the ancient Buddhist lamp in the sky floated over and shone brightly. The Buddhist lamp had a divine staircase, and it was as sacred as the great Buddha's hall. "Lin Ling, be careful." Emperor God Zhonggang and the others had been defeated by the Buddhist lamp, So they immediately warned him. Crackle, crackle. The ancient Buddhist lamp floated toward Lin Ling. But it strangely disappeared and reappeared under Lin Ling's feet. The Buddhist flame burned through Lin Ling's feet and burned into Lin Ling's brain. The power of the flame was also incomparably tyrannical. Lin Ling, I've decided not to capture you anymore. This time I'll take your life. Looking at the Buddhist lamp chasing after Lin Ling, Duan Nan shouted, Let me tell you, this lamp was given to me by my master. It's a chaos divine tool that has been consecrated in the heart ignition realm. It's not something a small character like you can resist. You don't understand the antiquity of the chaos realm. Lin Ling also noticed that the Buddhist lamp was chasing after him relentlessly. A Buddhist power poured into his soul, and it was wild and unruly, as if it wanted to subdue Lin Ling. How ancient is it? At this time Lin Ling finally spoke. He knew that the steps of slaughter couldn't resist the Buddhist lamp. Although the steps of wisdom could seal it, it couldn't destroy the Buddhist lamp. This meant that it was useless. Only Pengu could attack. Split open the sky. Lin Ling slowly stretched out his palm, and a wisp of ancient power spread out with a domineering aura that could split open the heavens and earth. Then he gently slashed down. The domineering aura of splitting open the heavens against the domineering aura of Buddhism. Rumble. As the palm slashed down, the power of 8 million worlds erupted with an unprecedented aura. It was the most ancient aura of the primordial era. Boom! The candle flame of the Buddhist lamp began to flicker and jump. Then the Buddhist flame was split in half, and the entire Buddhist lamp was split in half. Whoosh! Endless Buddhist flame began to sprinkle on the ground, as if it wouldn't be extinguished for 1,000 years. Ah! Such a scene made Duan Nan's jaw drop. Why is it like this? He kept shaking his head, and he couldn't figure it out. Because my palm is even more ancient than it. Lin Ling took a step forward and came before Duan Nan. He looked at him coldly and said, I don't know why your so-called heart ignition realm wants to capture me, but I can tell you that no one can control my life. With that, he slashed out with his sword. The sea of blood drowned Duan Nan, and the latter cried out in pain, Lin Ling, you can't escape from the heart ignition realm. We're not the only ones who want to capture you. Chapter 4471. Lin Ling. Seeing Lin Ling walking over, Emperor Gazhanggang and the rest were delighted. Yu and the rest ran over but were stopped by Lin Ling. You senior sister, I'm dirty. I don't care. However, Yu and the rest did not care. They pounced on Lin Ling and hugged Lin Ling. Lin Ling smiled helplessly and allowed his two wives to hug him. Lin Ling seems to have calmed down a lot. Yeah, but the murderous aura on his body is still very strong and his blood chi is scarier than before. I'm afraid he has killed quite a number of people during this period of time. Emperor Gazhanggang and the rest were talking. After a long while they saw Lin Ling walking over. They smiled and walked over. Then they told him what had happened not long ago. For the Kurishin not to underestimate the battle, it must be very intense. How about this, you guys leave first and I'll go take a look alone. Hearing what Emperor Gazhanggang and the rest said, Lin Ling pondered and said, that won't do. Let's go together. Emperor Gazhanggang and the rest immediately shook their heads. Yu and the rest can't participate in the battle over there. Seeing Yu and the rest leave, I'm worried. So, I have to trouble Emperor Gazhanggang and the rest to send them back. We'll gather at the valley outside the 72 caves. What do you think? Lin Ling said. In actual fact, he had sent Emperor Gazhanggang and the rest away because he had heard from Mysterious Lady that Lin Ling was about to face a great calamity. This calamity was unavoidable. So, if Lin Ling stayed with Yu and the rest, he would only implicate them. Of course, Lin Ling naturally did not dare to say it out loud. Because if he said it out loud, Yu and the rest would not leave. Moreover, if Grandpa Treasure God isn't still inside, how about this? As long as we find Grandpa Treasure God, the two of us will immediately rush back. Lin Ling said again. Hearing what Lin Ling said, Emperor Gazhanggang and the others nodded their heads in the end. Lin Ling also gave them a large amount of treasures, saving them the trouble of searching for treasures everywhere. After that, Lin Ling took his leave. Brother Ling, you have to be careful. We'll be waiting for you in the valley. Yu and Inuer shouted as they watched Lin Ling leave. Don't worry, I will be fine. Lin Ling disappeared into the distance. At the same time, he was wondering what this burning heart was. The last time he saw the sacred generation primogenitor, he was from White Mountain. What was the connection between burning heart and White Mountain? Rumble. Along the way, violent rumbling sounds could be heard. Lin Ling could not help but slow down and sneak forward. Then on top of a hill, Lin Ling stood there quietly. Wherever he looked, it was as if the sky was collapsing and the earth was cracking. The sky was constantly collapsing, and the void was like glass falling down continuously. It was a beautiful scene. Moreover, rays of light soared into the sky. Sensing them carefully, those rays of light were mixed with the power of gods. There were close to 100,000 rays of light. So many experts. This is a true battle between gods. Lin Ling was secretly shocked. He quietly extended his soul power and immediately discovered that there were not many people in this shocking battle. He estimated that there were about 20 to 30 people, but all of them had monstrous strength. Lin Ling recognized many of them. Kurishin, Titanic Crescent God, Ox Demon Patriarch, Nanwu Fengyu Treasure God, Black Dragon, Elder Foshin. There was also Lord Ning of the Spirit Nation. Beside him were two unfamiliar faces, and their strength was also very ferocious. As for the others, it was Lin Ling's first time seeing them. But soon he saw an acquaintance. It was the Dragon God of the Dragon Valley. The person fighting against him was very powerful. From their conversation, Lin Ling knew that this expert was the monarch of the Immortal Spirit Nation, Immortal Unheejman. That is. Suddenly Lin Ling's pupils trembled as he saw a mysterious person with a strange body and a smile on his face. Lin Ling had already seen this person before. That was because he was the great god of the Spirit Nation. He never thought that even the great god of the Spirit Nation would come. Lin Ling had also seen the person fighting against him. It was a dirty old man, and he was Taoist Myriad Treasures. Taoist Myriad Treasures had entrusted Lin Ling to find the iron box. But who would have thought that he would also come? That old fox. Lin Ling suddenly had a feeling that Taoist Myriad Treasures already knew the secret of the iron box. But this secret was obviously not what he wanted. That was because the world will host recorded in the iron box was Longnyang, the great god of the Spirit Nation, Taoist Myriad Treasures, and the others are all here. This means that the experts here must be dealt with by them personally. Lin Ling did not act rashly. Instead, he quietly observed. Then he discovered that other than the great god of the Spirit Nation and Taoist Myriad Treasures, there were two other experts fighting. Their strength was also incomparably terrifying. Those should be the experts from the Chaos Realm. Lin Ling stared at the two experts. Only then did he realize that with his strength, it would be difficult for him to interfere in this battle. But since he was already here, Lin Ling did not plan to return empty-handed. The host body of the world's will. They should have come here because of this. But what is strange is why so many people are so curious about the world's will. Logically speaking, the birth of the world's will shouldn't have anything to do with them. Unless they have a way to obtain the host body of the world's will. I guess that's the case. The world will host is a product of the destruction of the world. In the future, it will definitely become the strongest existence of the era. If one obtains the world will host, it will also mean that they will become the strongest existence of the era. Lin Ling kept guessing as he stared at the battle in front of him. The battle became more and more intense. Finally, at a certain moment, an old man unleashed a powerful technique, causing the earth to shake and countless bones to roll out. Among them, a stone tablet slowly emerged. The stone tablet was 2 meters tall and 1 meter wide. It was shrouded in fog, but one could still vaguely see it. There were blurry words. This stone tablet clearly recorded the world will host. At this moment, all the battles came to an end. All the experts stared at the stone tablet with burning eyes. It's mine. The great god of the Spirit Kingdom was the first to rush over. His speed was incomparably terrifying. As for the world will host, it was obvious that no one knew what it was. Because of this, everyone wanted to know this secret. According to legend, there were a few world will hosts with extraordinary potential. If one could devour and refine them, they would become the world will host and their strength would greatly increase. Although after devouring them, one would have to shoulder the world will's destruction mission, every man for himself. As long as one could become powerful enough to create a world, who would care about the destruction of the world? Who would care about the death of others? Great God of the spirit kingdom, you are already the world will host. If you devour this world will host, I'm afraid you will surpass yellow and become a red world will host. At this moment someone blocked the great God of the spirit kingdom. It was Taoist master of many treasures.